What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel on this Sunday. This is a chill stream with just awesome people chilling out, talking about our week and talking about random topics, especially ones the chat bring up. That means you who are watching out there, which also please make sure you smash the like, share the stream, all that good stuff. We are also simulcasting on Rumble because Rumble is awesome and they're doing really great things. So if you don't want to be watching it on YouTube, you can access it on Rumble on my channel. I should probably drop the link of that. But I have here with me some amazing people like Teresa. Hi, Teresa.
Hey, how you doing?
I am doing good. How are you? How's your week been?
Oh, it's been a little bit crazy, but I'm happy to have literally landed very safely last night after a crazy weekend of travel, and great, good times.
Awesome. And Script Doctor is here, my Canadian buddy. How are you tonight?
I am well. I too left my girlfriend for several weeks and gave her a Centrum to remember me by.
Oh, oh my God. That's good. I think.
Well, that's the message I got from that commercial, is that I can just make her breakfast, leave her a Centrum, and then leave for a couple weeks and not have to worry about anything.
You know, that I think that's what the commercial was trying to say as well. But who knows? I have no idea anymore. I think those White Monkey commercials are really funny, and they are called White Monkey. A White Monkey commercial is anyone, especially celebrities, that go to China and they make money off basically shilling stuff for the Chinese government or any sort of like stuff like this. They give them a lot of money to do
millions upon millions of dollars for a commercial.
Yeah. Well, Script Doctor, you totally missed the meaning of this commercial. Didn't you see? He was looking right into my eyes and
I did that
directly to me. He wasn't talking about you with your girlfriend. He's talking to us.
I know, when he looked into my eyes, I kind of melted just a little bit. I was like, oh.
Yeah, maybe I'll get a Centrum too.
Yeah. Maybe I need some of that in my house. I don't know. Hey, those are good commercials, right? It's like, this is the kind of thing you want. It's like, I don't know what product you're selling, but okay, give me the commercial or give me the product or like whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the other commercials where you're like, I don't know what product this is, but I never want it again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it in my house. I saw one the other day from some makeup company where they had like some dude in a negligee on a bus bench or something like that, and I was like, I don't think I've ever used this before, but I don't think I'm ever going to start now. But thank you.
Yeah, those are the anti-commercials.
It's like they really want people not to buy their stuff. But so I'm doing okay too. Things are well with me. It's been a chill weekend, which was nice. Like, no power outages, no anything crazy, thank God. Because it's just the little things that count. So I'm doing good as well. I did end up watching a movie which I really did enjoy, and that is called They Cloned Tyrone, which is a movie on Netflix with John Boyega, Jamie Foxx, and I forget the girl's name. I think she's from the Marvel movie. I think is she that girl from the Marvels? I don't know. Hang on, let me look it up. They Cloned Tyrone. Have you guys seen it?
No, I haven't. I hadn't even heard about it until you mentioned it in the group. So I may.
Oh,
I've only heard about the script. I probably have it, but just haven't read it yet. But I remember year and a half ago. I remember that because it's a very catchy title. They Cloned Tyrone.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it is her. It's the Teyonah Parris or Teyonah Parris. She's the girl that plays
she plays the Black Captain Marvel.
Yeah. And I didn't like, I don't like her in Marvel, but she was really good in this. Like this is in their zone, right? This is their like, she was very funny. The script was very well done. I thought it was really interesting. Definitely like kind of goes in a really weird way if you don't know anything about it, like I kind of didn't know anything about it. And so when I watched it, I was like, what is this movie? Like, is this supposed to be a comedy? Is this supposed to be, an action movie? Like what is this movie? What is the timeline of this movie? It was so weird because it started with like, they're kind of like dressed in like the 70s style, like they have fros and it's just
Mhm.
really weird. But so you're like, is this the current time or is this whatever? And then, but like they have cell phones. So you're like, but they
So
have
it's
cell phones that are,
blaxploitation, but modern day.
yeah, but they have cell phones that are like flip phones. So they're like the 90s cell phones. They're not like smartphones.
Hmm.
And it's just that it's just such a weird movie, like time wise. So I was like, what am I watching? And so it starts out a little serious, and you're like, you start out and you're like, okay, where's this going? And then all of a sudden shit hits the fan and you're like, whoa, like things just happened. Okay. Like where are we going from here? And so it went really well and it landed, like it had a really good landing. And I was very surprised. Now, having said that, it's definitely like it could be seen and perceived as one of those commentary movies on, the social things, especially with regards to African Americans and how they think about society and what their outlook is and things like that. But I think it actually was a very human story. Like it's not just about African Americans, although it can be perceived like that. I think it's very human. I think we all kind of feel this what they felt in the movie, like that feeling of feeling trapped and powerless, and how you can't, like there's this greater power that you can't really do anything about. I think a lot of us kind of resonate with that right now. And I think they did a really good job with it. It was Jamie Foxx, man.
Oh.
Jamie Foxx off the hook. He plays a pimp in the movie. And just his lines were amazing. He is just, it was all he won the show. And I could not also help but think about how bad I felt for John Boyega, because he put an amazing performance in this movie. And I was like, man, look at this. This is what we all talk about. Like they had John Boyega for the Star Wars movie, and he got railroaded because you could tell, like when you watch stuff like this and you're like, man, like this is the kind of caliber actor they had, and they did not get from him what he could give them. So it's kind of, in that sense, it's kind of really sad. But I highly recommend it. Go check it out. I'd be really interested to know what you guys think on the panel. Obviously, you guys in the chat, if you've seen it, let me know in the chat if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, also let me know. And is this happening? Is this happening? Hello, Nerdrotic Raid. What's going on? Hey, Gary. I don't know if you're watching, but thank you for the raid, bud. It's been a minute since I've talked to Gary. But I was checking out, I was lurking in his chat for his UFO stream a little bit.
Oh yeah, lots of news coming out on the UFOs and UAPs.
Mm-hmm. That stuff is wild. Like I'm like, this. I have thoughts on that, but let's get through some of this stuff, these early chats for a minute, and then we're gonna get into some of that. Braz Monkey gifted 5 memberships to the chat just now. But I saw you, Braz Monkey. You thought you were being brazzy. You thought you were being a brazzy monkey. But I saw you gifting 1 membership to Keely Chow earlier before we started. So you're awesome. You got caught being awesome. So thank you for that. So you gifted 6 memberships. So I thank you so very much for that. And then Angelo Frederick for $10. What's up, Angelo? Says, hi, Nina, Script, and Teresa. I don't want to spoil the party, but when are we going to see that? What is
Trebuchet?
Trebuchet.
Oh, bring on the purge. What is this in reference to? I don't.
It's the Conan thing we built over on top of Timmy Hooters, the trebuchet.
Oh, we already showed you the action. We bombarded that city, but you know what? Maybe next week. Maybe next week. I was a little. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little bit bored of Conan. I was like, I don't know if I want to play Conan tonight. I just kind of want to talk.
Yeah, no, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this. But maybe next week. And also in August, I'm definitely going to start it. And I hope Script Doctor joins me because I really want him to. But I'm going to play Baldur's Gate. And I really want a good party. So hopefully Script and Jane and one more person, maybe Kara. I don't know. But I think that'll be a really fun game.
None of us are playing the druids, right? Because
no. Just don't be a druid. Or if you're gonna be a druid, just don't be a weird furry druid and don't pick that storyline. I mean, if you do, go for it. We're all just gonna judge you. And that's okay. Yeah, that's all right. Judging is part of the game, so it's totally fine. It's funny enough. I know this stream is gonna be all over the place. I was having a conversation today on Twitter with drunk 3PO Jay, shout out, because he made a tweet about how he wants to see he asked what order of movies should I watch the Saw movies, because he wants to start watching them because then there's a new one coming out again, I guess. And he said, I've only seen the first 3. And Matthew Kadish responded to him and was like, they're all bad. Like, why would you want to? Like, why? And so they had this really funny back and forth. And I was like, I agree with Matt. Here, let me pull up the tweets or the X's. What do you even call this shit anymore? I'm calling it tweet.
I'm calling them tweets forever.
I know. I'm not getting on board with this X crap.
Yeah.
I don't think I can.
It's ugly.
It's also
so
weird to
ugly.
talk about. It's like, yeah, I was on my ex last night and
oh.
I know. I gotta check my ex DMs. Your DMs? Like your ex is messaging you? Okay, here it is. He's like, can someone put the Saw movies in chronological order? I can say this. Or best order to watch so I can get caught up before the new movie. I've only seen the first 3. And so Matt was like, my only question would be why? And he's like, I can't take you guys seriously since you trashed John Wick. Let me enjoy what I enjoy and you go back to your cork bucket. And so he came back with, why you gotta be so mean? We just say like what we see it, man. Won't be the last time. And he's like, haha, you started it. You want to hug it out? I kind of do. Let's be men, says Drunk 3PO. And then Matthew Kiddish is like, okay, sounds good. And they're like hugging it out. And I was like, huh, yay. And then it went, no, not gonna do it. It's too easy. And I said, in all seriousness, I'm with you. Why the F would you want to watch those movies? LOL. I've never even watched the first one, but it's totally not my jam. To each their own, though. And Jay came back with, I feel judged. And my reply was, good friends have to judge. That's how we know most celebrities have no friends when they go out looking like this. You won't end up like that on my watch, Jay. And I posted a picture of Sam Smith in this outfit. Because I feel like that's what good friends do. Like, good friends have to judge you and make you feel a little uncomfortable if you're being an idiot. So if, Script Doctor decides he's going to be a furry druid during our gameplay, I'm going to have to make fun of that a lot. And it probably won't be let go of for a long time. So
I would have earned
that. Yeah, somebody really, really despises that person.
Oh my gosh.
Or he lost a bet.
or that. No, I think he's like all in. Like he's gone nuts. He's worn even weirder stuff since then. So I think that he's just like lost his ever-loving mind and has no friends. Like he has.
It's very difficult to find friends in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because if you make it big, everybody wants to ride your coattails to get that money that comes with knowing someone who's made it big.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, it creates a spiral and it creates false perception on reality. And that's why you have crazy people have to go away to Betty Ford for stress or extreme exhaustion. It's unfortunate, but that's usually the case. That's. I mean, I have a number of friends in Hollywood, but like it was not easy to make them because they had to realize, oh, this is one of the guys who's actually not going to tell me my crap doesn't stink.
Right. Yeah. Or they go to one of those centers or the drug rehabilitation centers, but they're not even like getting high. They just want to go there. I've heard some of them go there now to get away from social media.
Social media and their publicists.
Yeah, because it's wild, man. To be a celebrity, it's like I can't even imagine living like that. It's weird. John Burns at 279. What's up, John Burns? Says Team Canada plays Team Australia at 6 a.m. Eastern. Go go Canada. What are we talking about? Hockey, soccer,
the Women's World Cup, I believe.
Oh, that's happening.
Yeah,
like soccer World Cup.
See, if it was women's hockey, I'd be more entertained because women hockey players are freaking fierce.
I used to like Women's World Cup until our team, the American team, turned into a bunch of witches.
Yeah, they turned just
that's the nicest
woke.
thing I can say about them.
I know, it's just a little bit, like just a little bit over the edge there with the woke. I'm gonna say this right out, and I'm sorry if you girls get offended in the chat, but I don't like female sports. I know that sounds awful. The only type of female sports I like are basically like volleyball because it's fun to watch them jump up and down. And they're usually, especially beach volleyball, like that's great.
That's the only women's sport that really matters on the beach.
Exactly. Or I like gymnastics and stuff like that, and I like ice skating because it's pretty, and they're doing flips and stuff. But other than that, I'm like, I don't care about soccer. Like I'm like I like men's soccer way more than women's soccer. I'm sorry. I know that it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
All the respect to them and what they've achieved. I just don't like watching it. It's just not my cup of tea. I'm sorry.
Yeah. For the most part, I do prefer male sports. It's more fun. And like I said, the women's soccer, the football was actually doing well, and at least in America, and then they had to ruin it for everyone. So I don't feel sorry for them if no one wants to watch women's soccer anymore. It serves them right.
That's funny. It's like, take that.
Hey, dumb bitches. I'm just gonna go watch Messi in Miami.
Yeah. Ooh. See, I've heard he's been doing really well. I haven't watched anything, but that's the other thing. I've never really watched even men's soccer in America. Like I was never into the MLS. If I watched soccer, it's always been, European soccer or the Euro League, Euro Cup, World Cup. I even like the South American Cup now. I mean, the Mexican one, that's fun because
MLS sucks.
Yeah, MLS is never, and the Canadian soccer team, I was just like, I don't care. Like White Sox, no. What was it? White? What was it? Was it White Sox? No, it was something white.
I can't remember. All I know is that Canadian men's soccer was way better than what I expected it to be, and I know this because a couple of my friends from high school who are like the all-stars made it to Canada's team. Back when they were in their 20s, so that'd be like a little over 10 years ago. And the reason they made it is because we had a high school trip to the UK, and our soccer team was like really, really, really good in Ontario, and we got invited over. And one of the pranks that the school that invited us over is our team wore their jerseys and their colors and stuff on the field, so the opposing team had no idea there was a bunch of Canadians playing them, and we actually won 1-0. That's how good we were. And then we played the team that hosted us, and they kicked our ass.
That's funny.
But that's how good that team was, and a couple of those guys made it to the national team 6 years later, I think it would have been. And that's when I got into soccer, because I was like, I'd never seen a game that was intense before, because most of the stuff you watch, it's kind of slow. That depends on what type of field they're on, because if there's a smaller field, it's a little faster. If it's a bigger field, you're like, I could fall asleep here. And I was learning all that stuff when I was over there because even though I wasn't part of the team, the whole year got to go over and for like 3 weeks and cross study and all that stuff. That was a lot of fun.
That sounds like fun. Let me get a couple more of these super chats. John Thomas, thank you for the $5. Says, speaking of Jamie Foxx, the script have any idea, any inside info on how he's recovering? Also, I think Elon is trolling again.
Sadly, I don't have anyone I know that knows Jamie Foxx intimately enough to provide any details. All I can say is apparently based on his recent social media post, he's doing well. And I'm glad he is.
Yeah, actually, that's a good one to bring up. Let me see if I can grab that. Because I thought this was actually kind of like genius marketing too, to do for this movie that he just came out with. I'm always looking for the bird on my desktop, and it's like now X, and I'm like, what? Okay, hold on. Jamie Foxx. What do I even look for? Video? Like, does he have an account? Oh, there it is. This is part 2, though. I don't think this is the main one, but we'll start this one. Okay, here we go.
As you can see, the eyes are working. Eyes are working just fine. Said I was paralyzed. I'm not paralyzed. But I did go through, I went to hell and back. And my road to recovery had some potholes as well. But I'm coming back, and I'm able to work. So I want to thank the people that let me work. And I just want to say that I love everybody, and I love all of the love that I got.
Aw.
And man, I know they talk about people crying on videos. You can do take 2, but I'm not gonna do a take 2. It is what it is. And if you see me out from now on, and every once in a while I just burst into tears, is because it's been tough, man. I was sick, man, but now I got my legs out under me, so you're gonna see me out. But like I said, I just want you to remember me for the jokes that I crack, the movies that I make. Some of them good, some of them ain't. I think I got a good one out.
He does have a good one out.
And songs that
Yeah, he can't promote it during the actor strike, though.
Oh, really?
Really? Yep.
Is that why he's not really naming it? That's interesting. I didn't think about it like that.
Yep, that's part of the strike agreement. He can't he cannot promote anything because number one, you get paid for your press junket, and if you're on strike, you're getting paid, but you can't. So conflict of interest.
Okay, so now here we go, because the chat is actually proving the point I wanted to make. We got, he's a clone, alien replacement, reptilian, deep fake. Guys, everybody, we all need to calm down. This is Jamie Foxx. He hasn't been cloned. Like, this is just him. He was sick for a very long time. People were arguing with me on this video, being like, he's so white now. And I'm like, okay, first of all, the lighting is bright in this video. Second, you go pale when you don't get enough nutrition. Like, it's like being sick and being pale is kind of like goes hand in hand. There's a lot of things that are involved with it. I just cannot imagine that this would be an actual thing. Definitely a clone, says Richard. Guys, the best part is that this movie comes out right after he posts it. So then all of a sudden he's in a movie called They Cloned Tyrone. And I think this is genius marketing, because they're like, oh, yeah, he's cloned, guys. Go watch this movie because he's cloned. And it's literally about stuff like that. So it's really, it's really interesting. I just find it so entertaining where people go into like these strange places, and you're like, I mean, I believe in conspiracy theories to some extent, but definitely I think this one's a little bit out there, like in my humble opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
you're more than welcome to believe what you want to believe. People also believe that Dave Chappelle got cloned, and I don't think that
I don't think our cloning technology is that advanced right now.
not yet.
We have no idea what they're doing in labs these days.
That's true too. I mean, that is true. Actually, that's what the movie is. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Real quick, let me get this Rumble rant over on Rumble. Thank you so much, because this is a topical Rumble rant based on the soccer thing we were talking about. It says from Turtles. Says tough to get excited about women's soccer when they lose bad to 15-year-olds and 40 plus retired guys.
Well, it's true. Men and women are. Oh, wait a second. I don't want to get your channel banned.
men and women are different.
Okay, you
Yeah,
said it.
different
Yeah,
parts.
they're different. Imagine that. They're big. They're taller. They've got more muscle. They're stronger than us.
Yeah. I mean,
kick our
they're
butts.
different in the brain too. They process things very differently than
Yeah.
we do.
Darn right.
Thank you so much for becoming a member, Jalkin Falcon. And I know that a bunch of other people, War Machine 300, thank you for gifting 5 memberships to the chat. You are awesome. Thank you so very much for that. And then we have, thank you, BA Turner, for $5. Hail, Nina, would you mind showing your viewers my new novel comic on Indiegogo campaign? It's called Vigilante's Creed, and it's based around a gargoyle. Yes, I will look that up. Give me one moment. It's called Vigilante's Creed. Okay, hold on.
Gargoyles are creepy.
Gargoyles are awesome. We don't have enough of them in cities anymore.
No, well, I'll tell you what. You go to those like cathedrals, and you see that thing staring at you when you're walking to mass or something. It's like, no, thank you. I don't need that thing swooping down on me.
Well, why would there be something evil on the outside of a church while you're going to mass?
I don't know. I didn't put the daggone gargoyles there. Ask the Middle Ages people.
I don't think they were building those in the Middle Ages in your state.
Well, no, not my state, in Europe. When I was living in France. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I love that show, Gargoyles, when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys ever watched that, but that was a great show. It was a cartoon. But here it is. Here's the Indiegogo campaign. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat right now if you guys are interested. I guess we can watch the video. Let's see what this video is. Ooh, nice art.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at the gargoyles. I love that so many people are coming up with all these different really cool stories.
Ooh, a Cthulhu monster.
Nice. Look at the detail on this. This looks great.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There we go.
Vigilante.
So that's Vigilante's Creed. Here is, I'm just going to quickly scroll through. Looks pretty cool, guys. If you're interested, go and back comics. We love indie creators. I love indie creators. So go back the comic. The comic. Here we go. Comic. I can spell. I think I can spell.
There we are.
And also here it is on Rumble, back the comic. There you go. Ooh, Blaze on over on Rumble says, I bought a Gargoyles board game themed comic on the old TV show. Ooh, that sounds cool. I never played I never played that. Or
I remember playing the Sega game for it. It was really hard.
oh, I never played that. That sounds really cool. I don't know what's going on with my chat tonight, guys. Sorry about the spammers. I guess one of Nick Recada's lovers is in the chat trying to promote Nick Rekieta's stream with Camelot. I know they're very gay together. We have to be accepting of all people. So everybody chill out.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're welcome, bud. Good luck with the campaign. I love the fact that you're doing something. You're being part of the solution, and you're not part of the problem anymore. You're not a complainer. So I love that.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good
It's
luck
great to
with
see
it.
so much creativity and people, feeling empowered to kind of get their stories out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, good times.
Definitely. It's very good. It's very good. And that's actually one of the topics I wanted to talk about, because I wanted to hit on a couple of the topics with regards to Barbie and how Barbie's doing, and the writers strike, and how the studios aren't going to be making as many projects next year. And just basically like how things are gonna go. I definitely have some thoughts on that, but hang on to those. Let me just get a couple more of these super chats, because this is about the chat. This is a chill stream. I want to be talking to you guys out there. You're very important. And I love hearing your thoughts. Wolf Spain for $1.99 says, "Hey Doc, in layman terms, how would you fix Barbie?" I think that's to you, Script Doctor. Go for it.
Well, there's not really much to fix, maybe except for the how difficult it is to be a woman's speech. I think that would refine that a little bit. Probably make it more about Barbie and the inspiration of what she is, because that would be more to the core of what the movie, established, because it runs on a very dramatic irony premise, which is that Barbie existed. Now all the world's problems are solved. And then we as an audience know that's not true. And then Barbie learns that's not true. And one of the funny things is, I was telling Nina before the show, I was hanging out with my girlfriend in downtown Toronto for a little bit after I streamed with Fat Steven. And we ran into a bunch of people coming out of the movie theater having seen Barbie. And one of the kids, I think maybe she was 10 years old. When my girlfriend asked her about it, she said it was like a Lady Pinocchio. And I'm like, oh, that's insightful. So, and I think there's reasonable arguments to support that. But yeah, I'd probably just fix that one little thing. I was playing with the idea of maybe changing the gynecologist joke to a podiatrist joke because of the feet thing that was running through a little bit of the film. But I think the gynecologist hits harder in the fact that she's a human being now and no longer a doll, because that's kind of what the journey entails, is the fact that she resisted change, experienced what the real world was like, even though it's not the real world, and decided that was better for her because she can't go, you can't go home again. That's another theme that's running through it. It's got a lot of themes going on through it. And the one reason that this has more going for it than others is the fact that one of the writers, Noah Baumbach, has been writing fairly successful feature films for 25 plus years. And when you take a look at other properties that have incorporated, say, woke mentality and whatnot, the writers barely got their ears, are still wet behind the ears in comparison. They can't do it as well. And then the other part too is when it came to the woke stuff, holy crap, did they exercise a great deal of discipline in how much they could do. Like, if this was a really woke film, America Ferrera would have been the head of Mattel at the end of the movie.
Yeah, and the dad would be completely missing and like left.
There would be no dad. She'd be a single mom.
She would be a single mom, no dad. Or like basically the dad left them. Maybe the dad is a fucking misogynist that like married a younger chick.
Something of that nature. There'd be far more verbal assaults to all the male characters, like there was in, say, She-Hulk, like there was 2 Degrees with Captain Marvel, especially in that deleted scene. Like there were a few times in Ghostbusters 2016. So the fact of the matter is that it's like, okay, they have a perfect brand where they could literally make this a preachy film, and they didn't. Why didn't they do that? And it can't just be to the fact that, oh, they either weren't intending it or they weren't, they couldn't get it past Mattel, but Mattel wasn't involved. They didn't care.
I also think it's interesting that like the movie could have been it's I just find it interesting because we have a lot of us always say like, well, why can't they just do that to their own properties? Like, go
And
make
they
woke
did.
movies about your like about this and blah blah blah, and just don't do it to us. And they literally went and did that. They went there, made because if you're gonna put feminist message in any movie, like a feminist message, if you're gonna put it in any movie, wouldn't it be the Barbie movie? Like, if you really think about it.
Well, it's
Um,
there. It's part of the pioneers of initial feminism, the feminism that didn't actually bother the vast
mhm,
majority of women or men at that time, only the insecure men. And yeah,
yeah.
I've heard the argument. Can you name one positive character? I'm like, there's a positive male character. I'm like, there's a number. All the Kens are pretty positive characters. They support Barbie. They encourage her. They're not mean to her.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter how they're treated by the other characters because there's this little thing called the underdog. And the underdog is basically someone who the world does not treat well, but perseveres, and we like him for that, or we like her for that. That's very different. Alan was a fun character.
Alan was great.
Some of the side characters, like the lifeguard that tells Ken he can't work at beach, like in the real world.
Yeah.
That's a pretty positive character there because he's considering that, his responsibilities of a job, which is saving people.
Yeah.
Even the dad is trying to learn the native language of his wife and the language that his daughter speaks. That's a positive trait. I mean,
That was a
maybe
positive trait that kind of really spoke to me on a personal level because I had a father that struggled with language for basically my entire life
Mhm.
because my dad spoke Farsi and he was not good at speaking English. And back then they didn't have Duolingo.
Yeah. You
Like
had to learn
so
the hard way.
you had to
And
learn the hard
Duolingo's only
way.
been around for like what, 4 years?
Yeah, and, he tried a few times to learn English, and he had problems, and he couldn't learn it. God rest in peace, dad. But I know he tried, and, like, that meant everything to me when he was trying, but, like, he never could quite get it, and so, like, I spoke about this with Tom, and, Latino Slant, actually brought up the fact that, like, it was kind of like cultural appropriation, he thought, and he thought that like it could like if a good dad wants to do it he would have done it like 15 years ago when the kid was young, but I was like, well, that's not necessarily true because it takes a long time to learn a language and sometimes you need
Especially when you're at that
motivation.
age. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes you need that extra thing. So for me I saw it so differently than so many other people, and it's just like that's
The other part too
and
is
that's what the
they
movie is, though, is you can see whatever it is that you wanna see. Like, that's what I think of the Barbie movie is it depends on who you are and how and what glasses you're seeing the movie.
well, what lens it is. But also here's the
Yeah.
other part too. The mother and the daughter kind of criticize him for the language, but he doesn't give up. He perseveres. He's like, he still tries to do it because it's not about what they think or trying to mock him to deter him from doing it. He's like, I am committed to learning this language. Even if I
Mhm.
sound a fool, I'm risking to put myself out there to do it. You don't have
Mhm.
to read too much into it. It's right there. It's his only speaking scene. Like
Yeah.
essentially. And
Apparently, that's her husband in real life.
yes, it is. They have been married for since the Ugly Betty days.
Uh-huh. Let me get this real quick. Kenneth Dowling says, "Have a good night, people. Nina, blowing you kisses. Goodbye." Thank you, Kenneth. But you also had another super chat. Let me get this real quick before you left. Thank you so much for all your support. You sent two $10 super chats. Says, "Hello, people. Love the hat and shirt you got going on, Nina. You look cute. Just finished working on my comic book. Yay! Feels good to put the pen to paper or keyboard. I should say. I'm excited. That's amazing, Kenneth. And also for another chance, says, I'm glad Jamie Foxx is doing well and he's working. I'll check it out. Script Doctor, I wanted to say I respect and appreciate your writing knowledge. Any advice on for writing superhero comics?"
Clearly establish these stakes if the hero fails. We want to know what's at stake. We want to know and care about what is going to happen. So define your characters first, put them first. Make sure your superheroes are more reactionary than active. So don't have the superhero or the superhero team be built before the enemy actually presents itself, because then it's just a waiting game. So we don't want to do that. But make sure that your villain has a very devious plot, something that the audience can understand why they're doing this. They don't have to empathize or sympathize. You just have to understand what they want and why they want it. and how far they're willing to go to get it, and go from there.
There you go. Kenneth, good luck. I really love that you're doing something as well. Good luck with it. And I look forward to seeing what you come up with. This is so exciting. There we go. Now, since we're on the topic of Barbie, a little bit before those super chats, I just wanted to bring this up real quick because we're talking about. I mean, this is still being talked about, and I think that's a sign that the movie is successful, whether you liked it or you hated it. I find this to be a successful.
I have no
thing.
skin in the game either. Like I could make more money trashing Barbie than I could, saying, hey, it's fairly competently written and it has themes and conversations. But
Me too.
That's just it. It's not my taste. Will I see it again? Probably not, unless I have a girl, my own a girl from myself that's like 9 or 10 years old that wants to watch it. Then maybe I'll do that so I can spend time with her. But no, I'm not going to be actively seeking this out again.
You mean like The Last Jedi? I mean, you can say that was a successful film in its own right. I hated it. I thought it was terrible, but we're still talking about it to this day in a way that's kind of successful because you're like,
there's better arguments on
degrees
the
of success.
interpretations compared to The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And also
definitely.
Barbie was written by a far more experienced screenwriter and successful screenwriter than Rian Johnson.
You should, JD Kirby, go make a YouTube channel and go trash it because you'll probably get a lot of clicks. I think that it depends on your definition of success. I think that everybody has a different definition of success, and in some ways, I mean, it like, when you talk, that's why they say there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? Because if you're talking about something, that means in some way it was successful in getting you to talk about it.
It's elicited an emotional response that's what you want. And the two things you want is either people to either love it or hate it. The worst thing you could have is apathy, where they just don't care, which is kind of what's happening with Indiana Jones right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like I haven't talked about that at all. Yes, or Rings of Power. Like, is anyone talking about Rings of Power?
No.
Nope. Nobody cares. But this was an interesting tweet to me because here, Tom, shout out, love Tom, but he and I disagree on this movie. And he wrote, and with that, the woke return to a vengeance. He's responding to OMB Reviews, and another great channel. Everybody go and follow OMB Reviews, Odin. Says, yep, and Barbie is well on its way to $1 billion in about a week or so. And he's responding to the box office, the most recent box office numbers for Barbie and Oppenheimer, which is 351 million domestic and 423 million international, which is totaling 774 million worldwide. Oppenheimer also did really well, 174 million domestic, 226 international, 400 million worldwide. But I mean, we're not even like, I mean, come on. It's not even.
It's a little over half. So yeah, it's good.
It's good, but it's not even a competition, really. I mean, Barbie like completely.
Oh no, Barbie at this rate, with how steady it was during the week and how much they've made so far during the weekend, this will hit or cross $1 billion before the end of August. Easily.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, that's good for theaters. It's very good for Warner Brothers. Tom and I thought that this might have actually not have been a Zaslav production, but when under further investigation, yes, this was one of the first films that Zaslav gave the okay to put into production when he took over Warner Brothers. So this is a win for him. This is his track record saying, I know target audiences. The question is, will that be retained? Because, as I said before, you can point out everything in Barbie movie that's woke. But the question is that do they go far enough in comparison to all the other stuff that has been woke since, say, Ghostbusters 2016?
Or any recent Marvel movie.
Well, the thing is, like, how woke do they go? And why not go further all the way, especially in Barbie? Barbie's a perfect platform to go all the way preachy woke, 100%. And the question is, does it? And I would say the fact that you've got a huge box office return, which is crazy because, again, since 2016 to now, any movie that was heavily woke did not make money at the box office, did not make money or waves on streaming. That means something. That either means Occam's razor says it's either woke and therefore a failure because that's the pattern, or it's not as woke as people think it is, and that's why it's a success, which is more plausible. And the other part too is that if the target demographic to the woke is between the ages of like 14 and 35, well, we already know for the past 6 to 8 years, they don't have money. They don't buy things that they claim to support. So where is did they save it all this time and just spend it on Barbie? Maybe. Or maybe they're actually, and maybe the people that are screaming woke or whatnot don't buy anything and they don't care. And the people that don't care, the average audience, the ones that don't pay attention or look for this type of stuff, just wanted to enjoy a movie that does actually have some appeal and charm to it. Lots of people are loving Ryan Gosling's performance as Ken. The only criticism I've ever seen is that Will Ferrell is just playing the same Will Ferrell thing. And this is probably one of the first times Margot Robbie has actually lost herself in a role to the point where I don't believe that she's acting anymore. And that comes from the fact that she's chewing up the scenery, because the premise of the Barbie dolls is to be chewing up the scenery. Like that just makes sense for something. And it's also a testament to the decent story take, because Barbie as a brand does not have any lore where she has to face an antagonist. There is no bad guy in the Barbie universe. Barbie is a fantasy. Barbie is a fashion doll with fashion accessories and homes. Ken is an accessory. And even though Mattel doesn't want Ken to be an accessory, he is. And the reason he is because the customers treat Ken like an accessory. And what does this movie do? It respects the customers who treat Ken like an accessory. You may not like it. And you know what? I'm fine with that too. The other part too is, as a man, we grow up being humiliated by women for a majority of our lives. We can take it. I'm fine. The thing that bothers me is that you don't manipulate a brand to support women when its target audience initially wasn't women. And in this case here, they're saying we're going to support a brand whose target audience is women, and we're going to mock the threat of a male audience coming in to take it over. And then we're going to reset the world as it should be and say, no, this is for girls. Ken and his brewski beers and his patriarchy, which he thinks is about horses, which is a mockery of patriarchy, does not belong in Barbie land. And I think that's a fine message to say, not just in the film, but also with studios. And studios do this time. And I want to say, enter the Wayback Machine to when DreamWorks released Shrek and basically bitch slapped Disney when they launched Shrek, because they were now the pinnacle animation studio with fairy tale characters, and Disney was very upset.
That was wild.
And this is what, and maybe Warner Brothers is doing the same thing. It's too early to tell right now, because again, it all depends on the next set of movies that they greenlight from this window on, and how they perform and how they are executed. If they start, say, doing injecting heavy feminist politics or ideology or woke politics into the subsequent films that would be put into production after
it's going to be a disaster.
Then it's going to be a disaster, and it's 100%. I mean, and they'll face the consequences, and they deserve it for that.
Yeah.
But the other part too is, well, what if they don't? What if Warner Brothers is going to be the one studio that says, "Hey, Disney tried to ruin all your boy brands. And when the boy brands that we have at Warner Brothers, we're going to reinforce as boy brands, and the girl brands that we have at Warner Brothers are going to reinforce as girl brands." And we're not, and then never the two shall twain, to quote Weird Barbie.
Now
the girls' dollness will not interfere with our boyness.
See, now the issue is, like, for example, like they've announced, especially Mattel has announced a whole, and I don't know if they're doing everything with Warner Bros or not. I think they are, but like they've announced so many movies, including I think the next one is supposed to be Polly Pocket, which is another doll they had. And they've announced the Lena Dunham is going to be attached to that. Now Lena Dunham is like uber woke compared to
She's one
Greta
of the
Gerwig.
founding fathers of woke.
Yes. So I feel like if anything, that's going to be a freaking disaster.
Oh,
but
it most likely will be. However, we could get lucky and maybe they force majeure that deal because of the
yeah,
writer's strike.
maybe, yeah. Or like there's like the J.J. Abrams Hot Wheels that's going to come out. Now I don't really like J.J. Abrams, but I think they might do well in that one because boys want to see this movie. Like the
Cars and
Hot
Flashing
Wheels
Lights
movie.
would be right up JJ's alley. I think he could probably do something good with that.
He might be able to. It's just, he's a hit and miss. So I'm not really sure if he's going to land it or not, or if he's even going to like, maybe he's going to start the project and then decide like, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm going to drop it and then leave. Because he never finishes a freaking project.
It depends what type of partnership Mattel has with Warner Brothers. Because if Mattel has secured a partnership with Warner Brothers for their IPs, J.J. Abrams is not going to be one that's working with Warner Brothers. They kind of cut him loose already.
Now, my
so
theory,
we'll have
though,
to wait and
Script
see.
Doctor and Teresa, my theory about this movie and the success of this movie is a little bit different because I think that from what I see, now it depends on who you are, obviously, right? Because I, again, saw something a little bit different than everybody else saw. Like I saw the movie in a very different light than what Tom saw and Culture Casino saw, Valiant Renegade saw. I saw more about what kind of like EVS was alluding to and what Script Doctor is alluding to in his review, and also a little bit of my own because there was some parts of the movie that I really did, vibe with. I was like, wow, this is kind of nailing it for me. But just generally speaking, I don't think the success of the movie is coming from because it's quote unquote woke. I think it's coming because women were thirsty for a pretty movie about women in pink and bright and color and just
and finding meaning.
And what we've been getting for the longest time is things like Marvel, which are boy properties. Usually they're like, comic books are boy properties and superheroes are boy properties. So we're getting these studios to take these IPs and be like, hey, we're going to turn them into female-centric superheroes because we know that that's what you want. But ladies don't want that. We don't want that. We never asked for that. Nobody cares about these movies. Normies sure as hell don't give a crap about superhero movies that like, oh, let me turn Thor into female Thor. Normies don't care about that kind of stuff, especially normie women. Also, we have that side. And then on the other side, we have Disney, who are constantly coming out with live action princess movies that we grew up with, that we loved, but they're completely destroying the princess movies. They're making them look like crap characters that we don't vibe with. They're not the same kind of characters. They don't look the same. They don't sound the same. And now you have like movies like Snow White coming out where, she's like, oh, this is going to be a movie about female empowerment because it's like not 1939 anymore. So we're not like, there's not going to be a prince in this movie that kisses her awake, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Okay. Nobody cares about these movies. Barbie came out with this. There was a want, like a need for something like this.
It was like prom.
Now it's been tapped into though, right? Like, phrasing,
Yep.
I know, but it's like a well that's already been tapped into. You're like,
the floodgates
okay,
have opened.
It's open. It's done. Things have happened. People went and watched this movie. It doesn't mean the next movie that comes out that is pink and bright and bubbly and blah, blah, blah is going to make as much money because this one took it already. It was there at the very beginning. It was Barbie. People wanted to see Barbie. And now things are not going to play the same way. So if the studios are dumb and they think that they're going to recapture that essence of this movie with this market, that is not going to happen. I do not think that is going to happen, especially if they're going to go make movies with uber duper woke people like Lena Dunham.
Yeah,
it's just not
going to work.
Happen.
If they got Brian Duffield, who's an experienced writer, to write a Polly Pocket movie, I guarantee you it won't perform as well as Barbie, but it will definitely be received positively by a majority of the people, because this is a guy who knows how to write, he knows how to do his research on IPs, and he knows how to deliver entertaining stuff to audiences. And that's the other part too. Noah Baumbach, who is Greta Gerwig's partner, he's written Squid and the Whale, the Life Aquatic. He is a huge Woody Allen fan. In fact, that's his main inspiration for stuff. He writes a lot of dry comedies. He's also very, very cerebral. And I would say it would be a disservice to suggest that he isn't smart enough to understand this type of politics and not throw in something funny to mock it, in addition to also supporting it because of, his partner, who is also the mother of his 2 sons, he cares about. So there's always that possibility. Again, you're also probably never going to see anyone. Well, first of all, the actors and writers can't promote this film because they're on strike. So the only person you've got that can promote this is Greta Gerwig. And she's not going to mention anything with regards to the film unless you as an interviewer bring it up. And I cite this back to other movies that you probably all love, like American Beauty or Election or Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Or
I love
Truman Show,
Election.
or The Cable Guy. These are just a handful of satires where neither the director or writer acknowledged they were satires until many years after, because when you're advertising a satire, you don't say it's a satire because you want people to pick it up for themselves. And you also want to fool the idiots. That's the other part too. Now, I don't know 100% for certain if Barbie's a satire. All I can say is that it has the hallmarks of a satire. It has things in there. It exaggerates. It mocks. It has a political angle that it plays around with.
I think that you can argue that it's satire, but you can also argue that it's face value. This is what you get. That's why Tom and them saw face value, woke, blah, blah, blah. But I think that the funny part is that I think it may be a column A, column B thing, because originally we knew that, Amy Schumer was attached to the movie. We had a different script. I think they rewrote some of the stuff for Margot.
Oh, it's completely rewritten.
Exactly.
There's no other credited writers other than those 2. Yeah.
But maybe some of the stuff remained from the original script. We don't know how much of it they rewrote,
If it remained, there'd be other writers involved because that's part of the WGA union with arbitration. So if anything remained, you would have an ampersand followed by whatever all their names worked on the project. Because this is only Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, it's pretty much suggests to me that they had a rewrite from page 1, and if it was contested in arbitration, the WGA said, no, sorry, this script is so different that it can only be accredited to these 2 writers.
Okay,
that's how the
interesting.
union rules work for it. Again, I would take a look at, say, the first Pirates of the Caribbean, for example. There's 7 different writers on that first movie. All of them contributed to the script, but not all of them got full credit. It had to go to arbitration, and the WGA had to delineate these are the credits that survived for it, because apparently more writers worked on it. And that was a huge hit for Disney back in 2003, 2004, something like that. So yeah, that's usually how it works. If you're only seeing the 2 writers, the union and the studio has agreed that those are the only 2 people that actually did it, unless people come forward and said, yes, I did an uncredited polish or rewrite on it, in which case that will come later.
And that's the interesting part that I was thinking about, though. Before you said all this stuff, I was if there was a kind of a disconnect with the original script with the new script, you can kind of tell why this movie just seems like it doesn't know what it wants to be, whether it's satire, whether it's full woke or whatever. You just really can't tell. But that kind of reminded me of this episode of Gossip Girl that I was watching the other night. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen this show. Have you guys ever watched Gossip Girl?
No.
Yeah, it's probably not. It's not probably not.
Is that the one with Blake Lively or something?
Yes, okay.
Okay.
It's with Blake Lively and what's her name, Leighton Meester, who, by the way, made me question my own sexuality at the time. Because
oh my goodness,
I completely fell in love with her, and Blair Waldorf, which is her character on Gossip Girl. I was like, wow, she's just an incredible actress. I really love her. But anyways, in the episode, the senior class was doing this play, and this guy was an interesting, he's an up and coming playwright, was kind of doing like the directing for this Shakespeare play that they were doing, like a rendition of the Shakespeare play. Now, in the middle of the episode, they kind of like the kids went crazy as they were performing on stage in front of their parents, and they kind of dropped the ball, and like all their drama unfolded onto the stage, and they were just going like, and everyone's like, oh my God, like what is happening to this play? And the dude was losing his mind because he's like, oh my God, like what are they doing, right? At the end of the episode, the guy that was like, because you know how there's always a reviewer in the play, like, you know, making sure, you
A
know,
critic, yeah.
a critic or whatever. So at the end of the like the play that happened, the critic comes up and he's like mouthing off the kids, like, you guys ruined my career. I cannot believe you did this to me. And the critic comes up to him and he's like, wow, that was really refreshing. What an interesting take on Shakespeare. And like, you brought the modern, like, you know, whatever into it with all these kids and what they're going through in their daily lives. Like, you brought it onto the play. It's just so refreshing to see, and blah blah blah. And he's like, yeah, I did that. And the guy like took credit for something that was completely organic, but he was just like, yeah, that was all planned. Like, you know, it's just
Yep.
such an interesting thing. So I feel like maybe some of that is going on with this, like where maybe none of it was planned, and but it's now being seen in that light with, you know, people like me and you and EBS and other people picking it up as like not something that was, maybe that it was a satirical thing, and maybe she didn't mean it to be a satirical thing, but now she's like, yeah,
Well,
that's right, like it was satirical.
I'll put in something that one of my writing friends in California informed me when he was hearing about Barbie, and that is Greta Gerwig's partner Noah loved the script so much that he was actually going to direct it. And Warner Brothers and Mattel were on board with that, but Greta said, no, this is a girls thing. Girls are going to direct it.
Oh,
and so that's something to consider, is the fact that the male writer, the 50% writing partner, who does dry satirical comedies as part of his brand, said he was so enamored with this script that he wanted to direct it. And when his partner, pseudo wife, said, no, I'm directing this, he was like, okay, fine.
that's funny. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yes, I mean, because again, we have to look at all the other variables aside from the actual final product. One of the things that we actually have here is, again, we have a brand that's targeted towards a female leaning perspective, and then on top of that, we have a veteran screenwriter with 20 plus years and successes to their name, Oscar nominations, a plethora of awards across multiple different films and projects. Granted, they do have some bombs, but they have that. And then you compare that to all the other attempts. Who wrote the adaptation for The Little Mermaid at Disney?
Oh God, I don't know.
No idea.
Don't know. They don't have a reputation as far as I can tell.
I have no idea. Let me look that up.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. You all have convinced me. I haven't had a chance to see it, and I wasn't entirely planning on seeing it, but now I'm intrigued, actually. I want to see what this is all about, because I've heard the initial complaints about it, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And then I heard some comments like you are saying, and I've been listening. I'm like, dag nabbit.
Yeah, well,
maybe
so
this is brilliant.
It's David McGee, who is, I personally find to be a hack, because I hated Life of Pi.
Oh God, that's the guy.
That's the
Life
guy.
of Pi guy.
Yes, he did Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day. He did the Mary Poppins Returns, which was also pretty bad.
I never watched it.
He did a very
I didn't mind Life of Pi though. I'm not gonna lie.
The fact that it was all a lie kind of made me not care anymore.
Right.
He did A Man Called Otto. That was nobody saw. The most revered one is Finding Neverland, and even that was kind of a creepy film overall.
Oh, Man Called Otto. I heard a lot of good things about this movie.
But it's the Tom Hanks one, yeah. He's following the life.
I've heard really good things about it, but I hate Tom Hanks, so I haven't watched it. Has anyone called oh, look, people are saying, people are saying it was good. See, I've heard really good things about this movie, but I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
See, I heard mixed things about it. That's the thing. It's and not just from the people in California, like just the people in my own sphere. who especially
Oh.
some that love Tom Hanks.
I fucking hate Tom Hanks. I can't stand him anymore. It's like one of those things. It's like when like when you see someone in the daylight versus the night and you're like, like, it's just one of those things. I
Mhm.
just don't like Tom Hanks anymore for my own personal reasons. I can't convince anyone to hate him like the way I do. I just don't like him anymore. You know what I mean? Like sometimes actors do that to you. You're like, I just can't look at this guy.
Yeah,
There's no rhyme and reason.
it's hard to keep up the suspension of it's just an actor playing a role when you've seen too much of them on Twitter
Yeah.
and all of this. And yeah, it's ruined many a movie and a TV series for me. You're not alone.
Teresa, I'm really interested in knowing if you like Barbie. So let me know if when you watch it, let me know. And also John Talk said the same thing to me when he wanted to watch the movie. He was like, I've heard so many things. Like, I need to watch this movie. What is
You need to
happening?
figure it out for yourself. That's the thing, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly it. I'll probably get to see it this week, and I'm planning on doing a video because I thought, well, it's 2 weeks out. I missed it. I was busy with caregiving, and now I'm hearing, no, this thing is still being talked about. And what you said earlier about if it's worth talking about, then it's daggone worth talking about. And
Mhm.
so alone, it has shown its value already. It just seems to me, and I haven't even seen the stupid movie.
It's
So
really it's just a really interesting movie, and simply because you are female and you you you've been around long enough, like you weren't born yesterday, so
mhm.
you may pick up some things differently than most people do that watch it. Because
Yeah.
I also think that age has a lot to do with your
Yeah.
perspective on this movie. I really do.
Yeah, as a
Oh,
girl that was born in the 70s, mostly grew up in the 80s, and Barbie, it really was a thing. And I just didn't have Ken being subservient to Barbie. I had Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and all of them, and I am completely non-woke, okay? But they all came to my Barbie swimming party, okay? And
Oh my
and
god.
Obi-Wan
you were one
Kenobi
of
too.
those.
That's awesome.
My cousin made me
Yes.
have to hold the Ken doll, not allowed to put him in the pool. when
Oh
I
my
was still
god,
being
that's
watched by her.
funny.
I had
Uh,
crossovers like you wouldn't believe it with those 12-inch action figure. Well, that's what people tell me. 12-inch action figures. They're not
Wow.
Barbies. It's like, yeah, those Star Wars ones, and we had 2 Lukes, so one was Mark and Luke. So I had the entire Star Wars galaxy and Ken subservient to my Barbie. That's just all there is to it. So it is a part
I
of
love
us.
that.
It's a part of what's being women. The good part of being women, you see, and what you said about how we haven't seen beauty, we haven't seen aesthetics. Women have not been beautiful for about 10 years. I mean, they
Yeah.
took Princess. Oh, I don't
I
want to
would
get
say
started what they
since
did,
the
Princess Leia.
early aughts, they've been
Yeah.
trying to damper women's beauty because, again, I used to work for
Hot
casting
phobia.
directors here and there. I would see gorgeous women coming in.
Yeah.
Most of them couldn't act to save their life, but gorgeous women coming in, and it's like, no, we're not casting them. They're too attractive. They're going to steal attention away from the other leads or what have you,
Mhm.
which is BS. And then we started getting the anorexic women in, the
Yeah.
ones who they don't have curves, and the costume designers are like, great, I'm gonna have to grab what was it called? The
Like
hydro
padding.
bra. It was a
Oh.
water bra. They had to put water bras on women just so that they could be identified as women in the wide shots because they were scrawny.
Yeah.
It was not cool, and I'm the one guy who's like, man, I feel like a pervert when I'm like they're not hot because
Mhm.
I'm looking for hot people.
But it's
And then
true. It's true.
that's what you're supposed to look
They've
for.
taken out. It's hot phobia, which I believe Chris Gord.
Attractophobia.
Yeah, attractive phobia, hot phobia, whatever you want to call it. I believe Chris Gord coined it. But he's right. Like
Yeah.
the hot people like are not in movies anymore. It's like some sort of weird cope. But let me get a couple more of these super chats because you brought something up that triggered me. You said Life Aquatic.
Life
And I got
Aquatic, yeah. Very
yeah,
dry comedy. Yeah.
yes, but I got triggered because I watched the new Wes Anderson movie and I want to talk about that for a moment.
Oh,
But
I want to check that out, but I hear some mixed things.
I'm going to yes, that is what we're going to talk
That's
about.
Wes Anderson for you, yeah.
We're going to talk about next. Hang on to your hats, folks. John Burns, thank you for 279 says 16-year-old Canadian swimmer, new world record. Yay! See, good for her. That's great. Or him? Wait, you don't
I
specify.
was about ready to say.
They're Canadian. Maybe they're ungendered.
Yeah, non-binary. Well, good for them, whoever they are. Angelo Frederick, thank you for the $5. Says, Nina, did you see John Carpenter's movies? The Prince of Darkness came out in 1987. That sounds really familiar. Let me see. The Prince.
It's a science
it
and
Prince?
religion mix film.
Okay, yeah,
Pretty
no,
good.
I didn't watch this. I did
Oh,
not watch this.
I mean, it kind of flopped, but it's a really good Carpenter film.
Okay.
Watch
I'll
it in
have
the
to-
afternoon. Don't watch it at night.
Oh, okay. I'll have to write that down. The Prince of Darkness.
I don't think there's a the in front of it though, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just Prince of Darkness, 1987.
Okay. I wrote it
And then
down.
follow that up with In the Mouth of Madness, another Carpenter film.
Okay.
I'll also watch that in the afternoon. Don't watch that close to bedtime.
Oh, God. All
Ooh,
right.
It has Donald Pleasance in it. Nice.
Ooh. All right. And then John Thomas, thank you for the $5. Says, I have no idea why, but my feed blew up with that Turkish volleyball player, Zahra Goons, but I'm all in for it. Yay. I don't know who you're talking about, but great. Female volleyball players they're hot. No hot phobia there. They're very good looking women. 279 from John Burns says Dave Chappelle isn't a clone. He did hump a sheep. Gross, dude. Wolfsbane for $4.99 says, I think I found out recently that I dislike about Barbie in the revision and differentiation of her creator who tries to be the sole pioneer of dolls.
The defecation of her creator?
Making her into a goddess,
I mean-
the deification of her creator.
Deification.
Oh, deification. Oh, because
but it is.
It's also a joke. She is the fairy godmother of Barbie.
But also it is kind of like that though, because when you're a creator of something, you are its god, right? Like, I mean, George Lucas is like the god of
Star Wars. Yeah.
Star Wars.
Like she even says in the movie that when she tells Margot Robbie's Barbie, you're in love with Ken. And she's like, no, I'm not. It's like, okay, come with me. And then they go to the void, which is like who knows. And she grants humanity. But here's the other part. Here's the part where you can argue there's satire and comedy, is the fact that Will Ferrell says that's Ruth. She haunts an office on the 17th floor. Like that's absurd. That on its face is absurd. You don't. It was absurd
because when it was happening, I was like, "What the hell is going on? Like, where did she come from? Like, what the hell? Like, this is such a weird scene. Like, all of a sudden, she goes into this room in the middle of this office building, and then all of a sudden, it's like a house. Like, it's like a ghosty.
It's a ghosty house.
Yeah, it's a ghosty house.
Here's another thing. Isn't it kind of weird that at Mattel, the only woman that works there is Grace, the America Ferrera character. Everyone in the cubicles, they wear all the same clothes and they're all dudes. It's like, well, if it's really woke, wouldn't they all be women? And wouldn't they be oppressed and upset that their bosses are running things? Like,
yes and no, because the argument, and I know this because I talked to Tom. The argument is that they want to say that patriarchy doesn't let women even run Mattel or Barbie. Like the patriarchy is alive and well, and it's basically keeping women from running jobs that should be their jobs. Like they should be running the Barbie thing. But
then why is America Ferrera the secretary to the executive CEO? Because wouldn't that be a guy then?
You would think, but there's gonna be one diversity hire to say, hey, we have a woman, right? Like, I mean, there's a woman.
Well, and traditionally secretaries,
which is unfortunate. They don't point that out.
Well, traditionally secretaries were always an acceptable role for women.
Yes,
but they weren't allowed to be executives. But you know what I'm saying is that the stereotype, which has some truth to it, is that women were not the bosses, but women were okay to be the secretaries.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's an argument. I see it as satire. I still think it's satirical.
I just think that it has the hallmark there that it can be argued one way or the other, as opposed to other woke films that, and I'm using woke deliberately, where it's like there's no room for doubt. Like, that's the
No.
thing. If there's room for doubt, there might be something there. If there is no room for doubt, you've got
Exactly.
Captain Marvel.
Exactly. There's room for doubt. That's the entire thing about this movie. Like the entire time I was watching it, I was like, am I supposed to be hating this? Because I'm starting to like, like, I don't know what to do. I'm having a dichotomy. The pressure's on. Hold on. Let me get this other super chat here. John Burns, thank you for the 279. Says Barbieheimer pitch meeting is out. Very funny. I haven't Barbie pitch meeting. Oh, Barbieheimer pitch meeting. Is that a video? I gotta watch it.
Yeah, he does the pitch meetings, and in this one, he actually they're like little twinsies because talking about the same role together. It's really very funny. Did you ever
Okay.
watch Pitch Meeting?
No.
Oh, girl.
I haven't seen it. No.
No,
Pitch
no.
Meeting, yeah. Check those out. He does pitch meetings, satiric, goofy, comedic pitch meetings for every film, and they're hilarious.
Let me see. Okay, yeah, it's out. It's 6 minutes. So we want to watch this? I think people should just go watch their I think people should just go watch their content though, because I don't really like, you know, taking people's content. So I did look it up though. Here it is. Barbie pitch. I'm just gonna put this in the chat. So if you guys are interested, go and watch that. Cool. I'm gonna check that out. Thanks, John. 200 Watt Studios for $5 says, I tried to watch Barbie last night, but the place only had the Korean film called Barbie. Oh my god.
What type of theater were you going to?
He watched porn. 200 Watt Studios for $5 says Tom Hanks filming a very different bosom buddies offshore. Ew, bro. John Burns for $6.99 says, remember when Julia Roberts seemed to be the only woman in her movies? Don't want her to be overshadowed, do we?
Oh yeah, I think she was in a movie with Cameron Diaz. And
there was a time.
Yeah, my best friend's wedding.
Best friend's wedding. Yeah. She had to overshadow Cameron Diaz at the time. Who was like Cameron Diaz was considered her. Eventually became replacing her.
It's Queen Bean syndrome.
It was wild because I remember like they used to call her like America's sweetheart and everything like that, and I was like, I never really got it. Like I was like, I don't get it. Like she's not that pretty. Like she wasn't like drop dead gorgeous. At least I didn't think so.
The smile. Everyone in Hollywood loved her smile.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, she broke a lot of stereotypes with this movie where she played an abused housewife who fakes her death to get away from her husband. The title is escaping me at the moment, but a lot of people
Sleeping
were like,
with the Enemy.
Sleeping with the Enemy. Yes, that's the one. Thank you, Teresa. People were really shocked by that because they saw a pretty woman and they're like, okay, Richard Gere, yeah, sure, she's a prostitute, whatever. And then as the years went on, they actually started to see that she actually had some range here and there. But then she got, pigeonholed into more of the romantic comedies. Her resurgence didn't happen until
last year.
No, she had a resurgence when she played a real life lawyer.
She won the Oscar for it.
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah.
Resurgence, and now she's trying to come back again, and I'm all for it for her. And
I was going to ask you, have you seen her new one? Because I've heard really good things about her new one, and it's supposed to be like a drama. It's like a crazy drama thing with her son. Like her son comes back, some crime happens. I don't know. It's like a drama, like a mystery drama thing. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
I don't know, because the only thing I'm familiar with her is that she was on Gaslit television miniseries.
Is that what it was called? Maybe it was called that. I don't know. Let me see. Hang on. I'm looking into it. I heard really good things, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to watch this. Because, it's Julia Roberts, and you're like, where have you been? And then all of a sudden,
she's been a mom. There's that.
That's true. I think it is Gaslit. I think
it's a series. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the one. I've heard really good things about it. Oh, no. Wait. The one I was thinking of, never mind. The one I was thinking about was called Ben is Back.
Oh.
And it's from 2018.
Okay. I don't think I saw that one.
And then there's another one that she did, and it's called Homecoming. But I was actually thinking about the one I was thinking of was Ben is Back, because that was about
Ben
her
is Back.
son, and it's like her son comes back, and I heard it's really freaking good. Apparently, it's a heavy movie, but it's good. Supposedly, I don't know. I haven't watched it. Okay, let me get this next one here. John Burns, thank you for the 279 deification of leaders. So the Disney story. What?
Deification of a leader. So the Disney story, is that like deification of Walt Disney over Disney? And
Has
the
Walt
rumors
Disney
that
been
he's frozen.
Oh, I see. Because he's like, oh yeah, that's the conspiracy theory thing that like they froze him and
they froze his head, and you're going to revive him when he's
he's gonna be like the first Futurama guy, like the heads in the jar.
The floating head in the jar.
God.
Yeah, that would be something.
That'd be good. 201 Studios at 2 says Korean Barbie is not a porn, but a wacky comedy. Okay, I'm interested. I actually want to watch that. That sounds good. Korean Barbie movie. What is it called? Like, does it have an actual?
Does it have a real title, or is it called Korean Barbie? Because
is it called Korean Barbie?
Just something. If we Google it, will certain images?
Yeah, like I don't want to Google Korean Barbie and it is a porn. Like
if I'm Googling Korean Barbie, my girlfriend is going to be over my shoulder, knowing that we're getting a recommendation to this, and we're going to see whatever horrors are together, so that I don't get accused of looking for something based on a recommendation from the chat.
Don't get Script Doctor into trouble. We need more details. Thank you, John Burns, 279. Julia was in a movie called America's Sweetheart.
Yes, she was.
I think yes, she was, based on the fact that they called her America's Sweetheart, and then they made a movie of that.
She also turned down money from Disney for the proposal because it wasn't enough for her, and I guess they got Sandra Bullock to come in after. I remember something of that a while ago. That was that was a base move where she's like, I'm Julia Roberts. I'm not taking anything less than what I'm worth.
It's just called Barbie. Okay. It's just called Barbie. That's weird because the new one's called Barbie. But okay. The American one's
This is going to be confusing.
Very confusing. But all right. Thanks. I'll check it out. Now, okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about the new Wes Anderson movie. I watched it. I kind of wish I hadn't, because I love Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson is one of my favorite directors of all time. I know that like Wes Anderson has a taste, like that he's got a flavor. So if you're watching a Wes Anderson movie, most of the time you're like, yeah, I'm watching a Wes Anderson movie. It's usually very bright. It's usually very weird. It's witty. And sometimes he goes to different directions where you're like, oh my God, I don't know where you're going. But usually it ends up at a really good place. And you kind of like everything kind of falls into place. Now, having said that, this movie was, I still to this moment don't know what it was about. It did not have a plot. It was weird. I was like, what the did I just watch? Like, it just basically was like 2 hours of my life that I'll never get back. It was pretty. It was definitely like Wes Anderson. It was very pretty, but it was just incredibly hollow. Like, it was just really weird. Like, I was sitting there going like, Wes, like, come back down to the earth, man. Like, you made a movie that's either way too smart for everybody and nobody's going to understand what the hell you're talking about, or, like us peons on earth would really like for you to come back down to our level and explain what your story actually is. But like, I could not get into this movie for the life of me. And it's got a really weird gay scene in it, which I was like, it felt unnecessary. So I was like, is this like Wes Anderson going woke? Like, I don't know anymore. Like, I can't even tell if people are woke now just because they're woke. Like, we're talking about Barbie. Like, I can't even freaking tell anymore. So I would be interested if you watch it, Script Doctor, and you let me know what you think, because I was like, I'm not smart enough for this movie. I don't know what the fuck it was about. That's how I felt.
I want to check it out. I'm not the biggest Wes Anderson fan. I like a number of his films. Bottle Rock is probably my least favorite. even though it's kind of what got him started.
Yeah, it's probably my least favorite. Well, now
Um,
this one's my least favorite, but Ball Rocket was like,
yeah.
but compared to
Well,
this, it's great.
that's interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
I gotta check it out.
I wasn't
Um,
I wasn't too big of a fan of the French Dispatch either, mind you. That was his
Mhm.
last movie. Did you watch the French Dispatch?
I don't think so. I think the last one of his I actually saw like in a theater was and enjoyed because I haven't seen a bunch of his films afterwards. The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was great.
brilliant.
Love it. I love that
That
movie.
reminded me of the old 1940s style comedy, but just with the way they did the physical comedy and the beats. But no, I haven't seen the French Dispatch. I haven't seen.
I mean, the
Isle of
French Dispatch
Dogs.
was better than this one, but it still sucked. I mean, I didn't like it because for a few reasons. One, I don't like French people. I'm sorry. I just don't. Two, I don't care about the French newspapers in World War II. Like, I just didn't care about the subject. I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and watch this because I love Wes Anderson and it's a Wes Anderson movie, but I didn't really care. And he didn't make me care about anything that was happening. So I was like, all right, like this was like a pass, you know? But this one, I really wanted to like it. I really was like, Asteroid City, like this is sci-fi. This is gonna be amazing. This is my like up my alley. Like he's talking about an asteroid, he's talking about aliens, he's talking about like all the things that I love. And somehow it just became this really bad. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend. I mostly don't like Parisians. Some French people are really nice, especially in Southern France. But French Canadians are the worst.
Oh God.
Oh, well, that's a total different species. Or
Yeah,
not species.
Wow. Wow.
No, I didn't mean it. I love French Canadians. But I mean, but they're really different from like Parisians. I love Parisians, actually. I
hate Parisians.
Oh, they're awesome.
I don't know. I mean, like the last time I was in Paris and I learned how to speak Paris French. The moment I slipped up, they did an about face so fast that it was not. I was lucky I was larger than all of them there. I'll just put it that way.
Google Wes Anderson, Lord of the Rings. What?
Oh, that's an AI generated thing.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look at that. But yeah, like the last, other than the Grand Budapest Hotel, the last the last movie I love from him, like actually it's probably my favorite movie, is Moonrise Kingdom. I love that movie. Like I don't think I've watched it so many times. I don't think I'll ever stop loving it. It's just something special, I think. So lighthearted, so beautiful, has such a good message. But I love his other movies too. Like I love the Darjeeling Unlimited. I think that's a movie that's a very it's about life and it has such a deeper meaning than what you're seeing on the surface. He does that a lot, and that's what I was trying to figure out if he was doing that with this movie. And I think I heard this from Keanu, Chrissy Mayer's friend, and Chrissy said the same thing. And they said that he Wes Anderson himself, also known as God, what is that guy's name? Oh my God, I'm terrible with names. Like Edward Scissorhand director.
Oh, Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, thank you. He Tim Burtoned himself, which I thought was it's actually a really good analogy, because what happened was it's so Wes Anderson, it's like it's almost a caricature of himself. Like you're like it's the same thing as what happened with the other dude. I think he's doing that to himself now.
He became too much of himself that he disconnected himself further from the audience that he already built.
Yes. Oh. Yeah. I think that's the problem. But I don't know. That was my take on it. I love both these movies, especially the Royal Tenenbaums. I freaking love that movie. Wes Anderson's done a lot of good stuff.
Willem Dafoe in Life Aquatic steals that movie because he just so desperately wants to be loved, and he's not.
Yeah, see, I'm just saying I love Wes Anderson, and this was a bomb for me. But if you want to watch a good movie, Grumpy, I suggested one earlier tonight. It's called They Cloned Tyrone. It's on Netflix. I really liked it. I do recommend that movie. D 201 Studio says Twitter messages. Okay, let me see. Twitter messages. I don't usually check my DMs on air, but oh my god, okay, he sent me Korean Barbie.
It's normal.
It is a normal movie. This is a
it safe for
normal
work?
movie. It is not a porno, people. It is not a porno. It's called
Oh,
Barbie.
Babby.
Or is it like Bobby? Like is that how they
Oh.
talk?
Soon
Like
Young
Bobby?
lives with her mentally handicapped father and younger sister Soon Ja. When an American man and his daughter Barbie arrive for an adoption, the family must decide who is to let go. Oh my God, that is tragic.
That sounds like I
Damn.
want to slip my wrist. 200
But I
Watt
see what they did
Studios.
there with the title. 2011, they dropped the R because R's are, I guess, difficult for people to say in that region.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
it's
there you go.
Bobby.
If you're interested in this, that's the movie. Now,
kind of dark.
I like I'm gonna tell you this right now. I don't think I'll be watching it. I can't. Like this kind of movie, it sounds depressing. I don't feel like getting depressed right now. Just generally speaking. I try to stay away from very depressing movies. I almost didn't watch The Sound of Freedom because I was like, I don't think I could do this, man, like right now. But I did.
Yeah. I was glad I
stuck with it.
watched it. I thought it was a
Oh.
well-made film. And
Yeah.
It was.
yeah, Henry Cavill is the weak. Oh, sorry, not Henry Cavill. What am I thinking? Jim Caviezel is the weakest part in that film, but everyone else is so good. Like,
Oh, we gonna fight.
Oh, damn. Teresa, get him.
Henry Cavill's awesome. Jim Caviezel.
Henry Cavill, dude. If Henry Cavill was in Sound of Freedom, I would have watched it 20 times by now.
He also would have played a far more authentic Tim Ballard. Because Tim Ballard, if you've seen him on enough interviews, and if you also seen some of the video footage of him doing these operations, he is not a silent, reserved person. Like he
That's
is
funny.
nothing like what Jim Caviezel portrays.
Well, but Jim Caviezel portrayed what he was told to portray. I mean, that's the director, that's the script.
Dude, that director now, I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous about the director. I'm not even gonna lie, because he is a Mexican dude. And now there's like this whole movement about like getting him elected for the next president. I was like, here's our
No, he's a
freaking
director. Let him make his films.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, here's our Zelensky. Like, yeah, all of a sudden it's gonna be like this dude's becomes the president of Mexico. I can't have
Yeah,
that.
but you
Like,
can only
no.
be one-term president in Mexico. Otherwise, they'll, take you out back.
unless you're a
Mexico
part
did
of the
have
club.
one good president like 8 or 9 years ago, who made headway, but because of the legal system there, which you can only serve one term, that was it for him. But that's done for other.
I like the president that we have now in Mexico. He's like an older dude, and like a lot of people hate him here, but the poor people love him because he actually like helped a lot of poor people.
Mhm.
But he's like the Trump of Mexico. So like a lot of the
El Trumpo, huh?
he's literally like that, and people have like his name is AMLO, and people have like AMLO derangement syndrome. So he's just like Trump. Like he'll like trigger people and like they'll go crazy. And it's really interesting. It's a very fascinating thing. 200 Watt Studios for 2 says girl carries around a Barbie backpack in the film. That's kind of cute. And then he says, to be honest, I only watched the first 5 minutes. Damn it, 200 Watt Studio. You come around here and you're recommending movies that makes me want to cry. And then you've only seen 5 minutes. At least a half an hour next time.
Yeah. Where can we up to that 45-minute mark?
Yeah. Dara Muth over on Rumble says, what were your thoughts on Sound of Freedom, Nina? And also followed up with the $2 saying, also, Tim Ballard asked to have Jim portray him because of his faith. So there is no one else, at least for Tim. So I'm gonna, that's interesting, your second one. I'm going to answer your first one though, and we'll kind of go around and kind of give our thoughts as well. We'll keep it brief because we're on YouTube. But so it's not because I've heard that people are getting like their channels taken down for reviewing this movie, which is kind of wild. But to say, I'm just gonna say I enjoyed it as a movie, like for what it was. Like I thought it was very tastefully done because they're talking about extremely messed up situations that are real life situations. And I think it was very tastefully handled. I think it was a powerful movie. It had a very powerful message. I think that it was really cool to see the actual live stuff that they put in the movie, the live footage of the actual raid. I think it was really cool to see that kind of things as well. It was almost like an actual documentary, which I really enjoyed. I love the fact that they were on set for a lot of the stuff, like on the like on the
Location.
ground on location. Thank you, Teresa. I love that kind of stuff. I think that my favorite performance in the movie and the person that won it for me was actually the cartel guy. Like I thought the cartel dude was just like I just
The one that was helping
loved.
him?
Yes,
Yeah,
Mhm.
he was my favorite too.
he was my favorite character. He was so interesting, and I think that especially I guess because of where I live, like he hit really close for me. I thought that the idea it's just an interesting idea to understand that humans are so complicated and that we can always we always have a chance to turn it all around, which is that what that guy did. It was a very redemption sort of story for him and his arc. And I just think that it was handled really well all around. I love the fact that they didn't really show anything too graphic, but everything was there, and you know what was happening if it was going to be talked about. Like you know what's happening, but you
Mhm.
don't need to see it.
You don't see anything, which
Mhm.
is good.
Yeah.
I mean, even that cartel guy, this story where he finds out what happened, like that story that makes him like contemplate life and death.
Yes, that
Yeah.
story, I
That
was just like,
that you could tell he was haunted by it,
mhm,
and you could tell the evil around it, which is the fact that it doesn't matter if you're looking for that or not.
mhm,
There'll be some that present it as if it's not what you think it is,
mhm,
just for the money, and they don't care. And that's also a very horrifying aspect as well.
Yeah.
mhm.
Well, and I was just completely horrified by just the first 5 minutes of it because seeing how the pretty woman, and how she
Yes,
charmed
she's
those
so
little
evil.
children,
Yep.
and having worked with children of that age, gosh, I was devastated throughout the whole movie, but I
Mhm,
know how much these little children, they trust you. You are God to them. You can't do
mhm,
anything wrong. And if in a manipulative person like this woman who lured them in, I mean, of course they're going to believe you. They trust so much, and that she was
mhm.
so nice. She was smiling. She was pretty. She made them happy, and then just, oh, when she had him in the snare, just then what you saw happen to those children, or what you
Yeah,
knew
she
was
was
happening.
like, there was a special place in hell. Like, I mean, all
Yeah.
of these people are gonna go to hell,
Mhm.
but there is a special place in hell for that woman and people like her, people like, Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever
Mhm.
her name is. People, especially women who prey on young girls and young kids in that fashion, and to what she did as a woman is just special place in hell. That's all I can say about it. It's just those people make me sick.
Yeah, it's just it's very rare that I see a movie where I feel that evil is so accurately portrayed, like where you can feel the presence of evil like leaping from the screen.
Ooh, I got a good one for you, Teresa. I got a good one. You just said that and it made me think of
Oh,
one.
oh, good. She's bringing me evil.
Yes. Very, very good movie. I highly recommend this to everyone, including you, Script Doctor, which is because this is a very talky movie. So this is a heavy script. So I think you will like it if you haven't seen it already. The movie is called Nefarious.
Oh,
Oh,
I've heard really, really good things about that.
Very good movie. Have you seen
Interrogation
it?
of a criminal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Has
Yes.
Sean
Who
Flack?
claims to be possessed, I believe, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes. That is the
Yeah.
movie.
It's
Have you
got the
seen
guy,
it?
young Indiana Jones guy in it, right? Sean Patrick Flannery, am I right?
Sean
That
Patrick
stars in it?
Flattery?
I
Flaherty?
think so.
Or-
Does he star in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. Yes.
No, I actually heard about it on Catholic radio. They were recommending it, and I was like, "What? What's this?" Because and apparently, it really shows you the dark side of the dark side.
Yeah, it really explains evil quite well.
Mhm.
It really addresses certain things that I can't call myself a non-believer. The thing is, here's the thing. I'm not Christian, right? I'm not obviously I'm not a Muslim, but I consider myself spiritual, and I do believe in the idea of demons and evil, and I believe in evil energies. I think that look at it a little bit differently than religious people do, because I consider I think about the sci-fi aspect. I think they might be more like aliens, or multidimensional beings, things like that. But either way, whatever you believe, there is an energy that happens.
Mhm.
So whether you call it demons, extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call it, Gene, that's right, Jeff called Gene, whatever, they do exist. And in this movie, it very, very, it just nailed it. Like, just nailed the type of thing. When I think about spirit possession, or I think about this kind of thing, this is what I imagine.
Hmm.
And it freaking nailed it. And this dude, man, I didn't even know who this dude was. Great actor. Absolutely freaking nailed it. Like, I was like, it was a powerful movie. It also was a powerful movie because at the same time as I watched this movie, and at the same time Nick Rekieta was reviewing a trial. He was going through the trial of Taylor Shabiznes, who is a woman who recently killed her high school boyfriend and chopped up his body parts in a meth fueled rager with him. Ended up murdering him, choking him to death, and then chopping his body parts, and then having sex with his corpse. Uh,
Eh,
Oh,
yeah, this chick, yeah, some
damn.
messed up shit, so this chick was on trial when I watched this movie, and I was like, this is the shit that this movie's talking about. Like,
Mhm.
this weird, like this like almost demonic shit that you hear that people do in real life. Like, this woman was a real life demon. Like, it really was like that. Dismembered him. That's right.
Yeah.
Nick is
Yikes.
clarifying.
Well, I
Go ahead.
remember experiencing something like that in real life when they caught the BTK killer, and when we saw his testimony, it was the exact same thing. I mean, that was just pure.
Ooh, yeah, it's evil. It's like
Yeah.
super evil, and you're like, what the fuck?
And he's just telling everyone what he did, all those people, those children, and if you know anything about BTK, it's like, oh my gosh, that was huge when they caught him. And
I
yeah,
don't. What is this guy's name again?
the BTK killer.
The BTK killer.
Yeah, he was caught in like 2004.
Oh,
but
this
he-
guy. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember
he'd been
this
doing
guy.
yeah, and it turned out he was a Boy Scout leader. He was married. He had a family. He was the church president.
Evil. This
Yeah.
guy is straight up
And
evil.
just the way he just was dead in the eyes when he's just explaining what he did to those people
This
and why
dude.
he did it. Yeah, Dennis Rader. Piece of human garbage, but man, real.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, Script Doctor, have you seen Nefarious?
no, I have not. I've seen a trailer for it, and looked really cool.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Watch
I like the fact that it's a 90-minute film. That's
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Thank you.
Yeah, that's that these what I appreciate concise movies, and that's what I appreciated about this movie, and I appreciated about They Killed Tyrone, because I thought that was a good length too. Like, I didn't think it dragged on. I don't know how long that was, actually. Let me see. They Cloned
Tyrone.
Or yeah, sorry, They Cloned Tyrone.
Yeah.
How long was that runtime? 2 hours, 2 minutes. So I guess it's a little bit longer.
Probably better paced.
Yeah. But it went by so fast for me, though. I didn't think it was 2 hours. I was like, ooh, this movie's pretty good. It had long credits though, so it was like I think
The
most
credit
of it
for
was,
half the movie.
yeah, like it's like 10 minutes of the movie was credits, like in the end, I know we need more 90-minute movies. Like we need more of that. But anyways, chat, I highly recommend this movie Nefarious if you haven't seen it. Whether you are an atheist, whether you believe in aliens or whatever, whether you're spiritual, I think you'll find something to enjoy about this movie. Interestingly, in the movie, the guy that's the main character, obviously not this guy, but the main guy is an atheist. Like, so there's this guy here, Jordan Belliff, which is Dr. James Martin. He's the guy that is interviewing the murderer. The character is about an atheist and how he doesn't basically believe in what this guy's saying, because he's telling him, like, I'm spiritly possessing this dude's body. And this guy's just like, tell me more.
So he's just trying to prove that he's not actually insane and that he's intended the actions that he had. And
yes,
Yeah.
it's a fascinating movie. If you enjoy like, crime, thriller, true crime, anything like that, I think you'll enjoy this movie, depending on who you are. So there you go. So I gave you guys 2 good movies tonight. 2.
Yeah.
That doesn't usually happen. I'm
I
not
wanna
counting
see
Barbie.
Sympathy for the Devil. That is a Nick Cage thriller. That's,
Sympathy for the Devil?
yeah, Nick Cage takes hostage this guy who's driving a car on the way to his wife who's going into labor with their child, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
I remember when that
Ooh.
came out. Yeah.
I
It's
wanna check
based
that
on
one
a
out.
1968 film by the same name.
Yep.
Sympathy
Oh,
for
wait,
the
this is a
Devil.
new one?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I was thinking of the old
This
one.
is Nick Cage,
Okay.
came out earlier this
Nick
year, just
Cage.
before the strikes. Yeah.
I did not even hear about Nick Cage doing this. That's
Damn.
crazy. But the original came out in 1968. I love Nick Cage. I'm down for this kind of movie. I'm gonna check this out.
Yeah. High stakes
Thanks,
game.
Script Doctor.
And then I haven't seen that one yet, but the one I did see, which I really enjoyed, it's probably my favorite movie I've seen in the last week or a half, was The Venture Brothers. The
I gotta watch that.
Venture Brothers movie.
Yes. I heard it's good. I have to finish the series.
Yes, you should, because makes more sense if you do. I mean,
have to finish
The
it.
Venture Brothers is basically their last hurrah to at least wrap up some of the bigger questions. But
Mhm.
all the other questions that they have peppered throughout the series don't get resolved because they add basically like an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes to do it. And if sales go well enough for this one, they might be able to do a follow-up film. But I doubt it will, because Venture Brothers is hugely successful overall, but its audience is niche. And because it's an expensive cartoon show, they don't garner enough sales to keep it into production, unfortunately. So I think that might be its end of hurrah. It has a great message of family at the end of the day for that film. And highly recommend it. It's a great button on a series. And if they ever do make more, I will be there first. I'll try to be the first in line. It'll be hard because there's so many that will be beating me there. But yeah, really, really, really liked it.
I just want to take a quick moment to give a massive shout out to Rumble and anyone watching over on Rumble. We're on the top picks front page of Rumble. This is incredible. Thank you so much if you're watching over there on Rumble.
I didn't even know that Rumble had that page.
Yeah, this is the main front page for the live. Usually they have like the main streams of people who are like the bigger ones on the top, and then like we're right next to Rice Gum, which is the the biggest YouTuber that they signed recently. So there we are. We're getting featured over there. So thank you, you guys over
Yay.
there. Thank you so very much. Rumble is doing really great things. I highly recommend, if you guys have not done so, go and follow any of the YouTubers that you follow on Rumble. If they have an alternate Rumble account, go over there and sign up for their Rumble. Rumble's doing great things, and they're constantly improving their platform. And they actually care about their creators. And if you're out there and you are a content creator that you are thinking about up and coming, and you're like, I want to start a channel, start it on Rumble. Like, don't even think about it twice. Go over there. They're doing great things. So again, massive shout out. Thank you everybody for all the love. I just wanted to let you guys know, because people were in the chat over there were telling me that they brought it to my attention that we're being featured.
Oh, that's
That's
great.
really cool. It is really cool. I'm going to talk about this one last thing before we call it a show, because we've been talking about a bunch of stuff about Barbie, whether it was woke or not, whether it was, all the different things, right? I mean, this is entertainment related, but there's definitely a couple of things that have come up on my plate that I was like, this is pretty interesting. One is this post here by Gundam. And he said, so I'm the asshole for expecting it to be tolerable. And the picture in here says, Secret Invasion director says Marvel fans have too many expectations.
Well, that's because of the brand. The brand started off really strong.
Yeah, you dumbasses.
Like, exactly.
Well, I mean, not only that, it's the fact that, I don't know, their property is made of, I don't know, like some of the most successful comic book stories ever told in the world. Like, I mean, this is just mind-boggling to me,
70
because I'm
years
like,
of content almost, yeah.
Yeah.
why don't you just follow the freaking stories from the comics? You don't have to do your own shit. Stop making it for a modern audience and just follow the freaking blueprint. You don't, like, the expectations are that you follow the blueprint of what you already have. Like, it's not.
Yeah, and find a way to weave it in maybe more effectively than how they did in the comics. Because with the comics, they literally did make it up month to month as they went along. They rarely had they did do a year-long breakdown with some titles, especially over DC. Not so much so that I've heard over at Marvel. But yeah, you gotta formulate. You gotta swing for the fences, and then you also have to engage with your audience and take back reception. And funny enough that you brought this up, because the bad guy in Secret Invasion is one of the Kens in Barbie.
Oh my God, is he?
Yeah, he's the one that has the two ice creams. The black
That's
Ken.
hilarious. I didn't. Oh my God, that's hilarious, because I didn't even.
At least that actor's in one successful thing that came out this year.
Did you see that clip going around? I think Nerdrotic posted it with Amelia Clark and this really shitty show and like the CG of how bad it was.
Oh,
did you see that?
I saw the one clip where she has like the strong muscular arm, but it looks like a baby's arm.
Yeah, it looks like a baby's arm. And then the next clip, it's like she's back to like not having the crazy arm. Hold on, let me pull it up, because it was so bad. I was like, what the frig? Like, and why do they keep doing this to Amelia Clark? Like, I don't understand why she keeps getting like all the shit movies that Disney has to offer.
Oh, she has a horrible publicist, and her agents aren't too great. And I know this because before all the hoopla has happened to Amelia Clark, I had 2 encounters with her, and both times her publicist refused to let me actually like properly engage with her. Like, literally, we exchanged a wave and said hi to each other between this aggressive bitch.
Oh,
wow.
Man.
I did meet her mother, and Amelia's mother is delightful. A beautiful, wonderful woman. Kept on asking me to propose to her daughter. I was like, can I meet her first?
Oh, wow.
Oh no, she was doing this to every single good-looking guy, and I don't even consider myself good-looking, but every guy that was in that party there, She was basically just trying to marry off to her to Amelia.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I feel bad for her because
Terrible.
she's had brain injuries. She's fought
She's had aneurysms and she
Yeah.
survived and had to have surgery. Yeah.
Yeah, she's basically been through the shit in real life. And I feel like, she could just definitely do a lot better than what Marvel's doing. Mind you, she did come out with her own comic book where she is
Oh, that thing?
The menstruation one?
Yes.
The mom book,
Mom.
which someone sent me a
Oh.
digital of that. And
Same.
this one is more like the Keanu Reeves comic book where a bunch of writers approached a talent to get funding to make the book and then released it. That came to that feels like what it is here. And Amelia was just playing her role as the advertiser because it's really god awful.
It was so bad. I was like, why would you do this, girl? It was so terrible. But this is the scene from Secret Invasion that Gary tweeted out. Well, this is Mr. Bug tweeting this out, but Gary retweeted it, and that's how I saw it. But here it is.
My father.
Okay, cheap After Effects, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
It looks like a baby arm.
It looks like a baby's arm. What is that?
She turns into a man or the Incredible Hulk?
She turns into a Skrull. She's like
she's
a
super
Skrull.
Skrull.
Oh,
Super
okay.
Skrulls
What
can
the
morph into various genetic copies of superheroes. And
Okay, but can you explain this to me? Look at this scene.
they didn't
Hold
map
on.
the scale properly with her wrist and with the jacket.
Yeah,
So
look
they
at
But
her
didn't-
hand.
it gets worse though, okay?
I
Because
bet it does.
this is the scene. Oh shit, hang on.
They should have brought her shoulder out more.
No.
The
Sorry,
cat.
my cat's doing things. Okay, so watch this. Keep an eye on the arm.
And now it's big and long.
And then look. And then it's not there anymore.
Well, I
Like-
mean, yeah, it's morphing. Oh, so
She-
Skrulls
she,
actually
like,
are
phased-
naked.
I
Well,
have
Skrulls
no
are
idea.
naked actually, so all their clothing and stuff is not real.
But she okay, what was the point of that though? She
I don't know.
shows the arm and then she phased or whatever the hell she did, and then the arm is gone. So what the hell was the point of that
she
entire
didn't even
scene?
use it. Yeah, exactly. It was dumb.
What? I'm so
Again,
confused. I didn't even watch
Bad
the show, and I was
storyboarding,
like, "What the
bad
fuck is this?"
directing. Nick
Oh.
Fury's married to a female Skrull because that's a
He's
twist.
married to her. I thought they were just banging.
No, they got married.
No way. Oh my god, that's
The
so
other part
funny.
too is so just to let you know, okay, the best and worst thing you can have in Hollywood is an agent. And the reason being is that if an agent is good at their job, they find exactly where your strengths are and put you in there to build you up. If the agent is bad at their job, they put you in anything. Emilia Clarke's agent just keeps putting her in or fighting for her to be in anything that they can get her in. She got cast in Game of Thrones as a replacement to the initial Daenerys. And one of the things that allowed her to get cast is that she was comfortable with nudity. That was it.
That makes
And
sense.
because she's a stage actress and apparently is quite good.
Okay, keep talking. I gotta go kick my cat out. She's doing
Yeah.
bad things.
So-
Okay, I'll be right back.
But sadly, when it comes to other film and television, it's whatever they can get, whatever they can put on her.
Yeah.
You know, she's a very charming actor and interviews very well. And you just kind of want to wish to see her in something where she could shine, but she just has never been put in anything that she can shine in. But she's also smart for not turning down work, because work for an actor is few and far between for a lot of people, for a lot of them.
Yeah, every actor I know has told me that the best role that they ever have is the role that they have. You know, they're just lucky to be working. But I haven't heard one bad thing about Emilia Clarke, about anything. And if I definitely trust what you say is true about her publicist and her agent, that is just a crying shame. And it's not the only person that I've known that's been kind of screwed over by their publicist. And I don't know how they get away with it. I don't know how that works, but
You guys want to hear the funniest thing? I
Sure.
go to kick out my cat because I was
Uh-oh.
like, she's doing bad things. She knows she's doing bad things. She knew because I said Yuki, like I called her out. So she was sitting in front of the door, like looking up, like she's like, I know I'm getting kicked out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what mine does.
It was just so funny. But yeah, so Amelia Clark, bad publicist. I mean, that kind of makes sense if you really think about it. Because I mean, that Solo movie, like, I mean, that's trash. This is
But I
all
mean, smart
trash.
choice to be like, hey, Star Wars film at the height where Star Wars just did $2
Right.
billion at the box office. They had
Sure.
no idea it was going to be terrible. They thought it was
That's
going to be
also
gold.
true. That's also
And
true.
yeah, same thing with Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger returns as the robot. Wow, this is going to be huge and big. You should get in on
I
that.
forgot she was in that. Oh my
It's like,
God.
I mean, again, on paper, all of them look good, but here's the problem. As much as you do well on paper, you also have to nail with the execution. And they really just lost, again, with those two examples, they lost the execution. Captain Marvel should have been a fantastic movie. Like, even with Brie Larson, because again, she can act, but they didn't have a proper directing team. They had two different directors, and I think one was a Brie Larson only director, and the other one was directing the rest of the movie. And they also had a terrible script.
Yeah,
that
the
didn't do
script was
anything.
awful.
And it didn't connect properly with the overall narrative that they were doing for the Infinity War. It was a very out of order place, and it's terrible.
Well, and that's when they were starting to want to do the MCU, so they just completely, for example, like ruined Nick Fury's character. Like they were just like, oh, we're just gonna.
They didn't get Nick Fury's character, and the other part too is they knew that they weren't going to have Robert Downey Jr. anymore, so they needed a new face to lead Marvel. And Brie Larson just won the Oscar. Up until she wrapped production on Captain Marvel, she hadn't done a horrible interview yet or accosted anybody saying it's not made for you stuff yet.
Oh, right.
So she was still in good standing.
Yeah.
Everything looked like it was good. The problem was that the script sucked. And then the movie.
I mean, I think she still is, because to some extent, like I still haven't heard her say anything like she hasn't been like, oh, that like, I hate the racist fans or anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like she still hasn't really said anything to like make people hate her as a person. People are just constantly like, what are you doing? Which you just explained what happened. But this is the stuff we have to look forward to for Marvel.
Oh my goodness.
They kind of said the Secret Invasion ending. What MC project are you most looking forward to in 2023? My question is to you, Script Doctor. Are any of these, especially Echo, are any of these even going to come out in 2023? Well, I mean, other Marvels, because we know the Marvels is going to come out.
Yeah, there's technically no reason for the Marvels not to come out, because as far as I know, they already pushed it back to swap it with the Haunted Mansion to buy them some extra time. I think they managed to get that extra time used efficiently prior to the actors' strike. So now it's just in the can. All you have to do is work on the editing and post-production, which is not part of any union strike at the moment. Victoria Alonso is no longer there to mess around with all the post effects, which the rumor is not only was she messing around it, but also not enough to the point where Marvel is actually upset with her. But it was also the fact that during the time where she was messing around with those things, she was also working on her other project that we talked about a while back as well. And that was actually in violation of the terms of her contract with Disney.
Oh.
And that is more likely the reason why she was terminated. The other part is basically just it's compounded grievances against the woman and her behavior. Since she has been gone, is my understanding that Kevin Feige and David Esposito and all the other founding fathers of Marvel have just returned to what they were doing before Victoria Alonso got promoted, which is they just oversee the duties required for post-production, because there is now no longer a executive in charge of post-production for film, television, and animation anymore. That position has not been refilled as far as I know. I don't think it's ever going to be refilled, because one of the dumbest thing you could do is give a person producer powers over the final product of the film when the actual production team and the producers themselves have completed the bulk of their work, which basically means you bring in someone to come in and redo everything, and they
railroad them.
Railroad them, because they have a higher level of authority than the producer. And it's like, you can't do that. The producer has to be from the beginning to the end of the film. The moment you take that ending part away, it no longer becomes their film. And that's why we got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania as it was, as opposed to what, and I've heard some very convincing stories from reliable people that it was a way better film.
Ouch.
And then it got butchered when
So it
Bob Iger
like
took over.
because apparently it became like instead of Quantum Mania, Commie Mania, because it was about like communism or some shit.
Well,
I
one
didn't watch the
rumor I
movie.
heard, I'm waiting to get it vetted, but one rumor I heard is that during the reshoots, Bill Murray expressed wanting to be in a Marvel film, and they wedged him into Quantumania in January of this
Ooh.
year. So he was added in.
That's so disrespectful. It's like, make his own role. Like, it's Bill freaking Murray. Like, give him his own movie, you know? Like, I don't what are you doing? Look, I'm kind of over Marvel, just generally speaking. Teresa, you guys know we reviewed season 1 of Loki. I mean, that was trash.
That hurt so bad.
I mean, that was awful. And then like after that, I think I watched 3 episodes of
the one
the
with
bow
the
dude, Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Hawkeye, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
and
we
then
just
I was
watched
done.
Yeah, we lost the will to watch. We
Yeah,
couldn't handle it
I was
anymore.
Well, I would say
over it.
this: Hawkeye and Ms. Marvel, those two shows are probably the better written out of the bunch. Ms. Marvel, good representation of a conservative family in New Jersey with Pakistani heritage.
I didn't watch it.
Had good parent-child relationships. They're positive. They're encouraging. It does fall apart with the pilot and the closer because they didn't know what they wanted. But that season felt like more like a season 2 than a season 1, because it does abandon a lot of the conflict and premise of the high school's thing to take her back home to her home country, so to speak, and allow her to experience her culture and her grandmother and all that stuff differently. Hawkeye was pretty solid all the way up until the ending, where things kind of got a little more crazy. And it just didn't quite land as much.
For me, Marvel like really just fell apart after Falcon and the Woke Soldier. Like I was like, okay, like this is I'm done. Like I was kind of done from then. Then I was like, okay, because we were reviewing it, like, okay, let's give it another chance. Like, okay, let's see what Loki does. Let's see what this does. And it was just shit. Like it just became this just unending pile of garbage that just felt really
didn't fit.
hollow. Yeah, it just didn't fit. It's like a ghost of its former self, which is like everything in phase 1 and 2. I actually recently started watching the phase 1 stuff again just for fun. And it was so much more fun, and it was so
How
much
great
more
is Captain America: The First Avenger?
Oh my god, I love that movie. Like, and it was my favorite Marvel movie, and it still is, because I just love, like, I love the Captain America, but I love his arc with the Red Skull, and I love the Red Skull as like a villain.
Well, I like the fact that he wanted to fight, but he didn't quite have a reason to fight for anything other than the fact that he hated bullies. And his arc is that by the end of the film, he actually has a reason to fight, and he actually has a reason to do something, and that is for the people that he's loved, the relationships that he's made. Because up until that point, he hadn't made any. He only had Bucky as his friend, and when he lost his friend, he had gained so many other friends. He had gained the love of Haley Atwell's character, Peggy Carter, to the point where now he actually has something worth fighting for. It's not just to fight a bully; it's also to fight for your country, fight for your friends or family, fight for freedom. And he was willing to sacrifice himself for something that he was certain is the right thing to do, as opposed to just being a guy who's like, I'm just going to do it because it's what I think I got to do. Like that's his arc, and it's not an easy arc to pick up on in that movie.
And Hugo Weaving, like Dra mentioned, just freaking killed it as the Red Skull. Like I was like, this dude's amazing, and I couldn't wait for them to come back and like follow up with like the return of the Red Skull, because like he comes back and like the comics, because that kind of he does return. But they never fucking did anything with it. And then we see him as like the weirdo dude in the Soul Stone. Like later, I was just like, this is so fucking
one of the
stupid.
reasons for that is Hugo Weaving is no longer doing studio films, and I think after Marvel, I think that was the last one he was willing to do.
Yeah, but they should have recast the Red Skull because you could
did.
you could recast him.
They did,
You
but
know?
they just used him for that Soulstone Guardian thing as opposed
No,
to
but
having
I'm saying
something
like you
fun.
could recast the character
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like do an
exactly.
actual proper return. Like you don't have to do.
Oh yeah, like it would have been great if he returned at the end of Winter Soldier.
Yes,
Like not
yes,
just as like a mid-credit,
Ye-
post-credit scene or something of that nature, where
yes,
it's like he's Hydra's back, and now so is the Red Skull. You know,
yes.
having been biding his time all this.
Like, how do you
all these
get rid of
decades.
a villain like that and you're Marvel? Like, it's the red freaking skull, and you're like, oh yeah, we're just gonna, we're just gonna
Never mind.
focus on the scrolls now. Who fucking cares? Like, I don't give a shit about the scrolls. Like, where's the red skull at? Like, bring him back. But this is what I'm talking about. Like the phase one, and somebody said in the chat that it's so jarring to see the difference. There it is,
Mhm.
Jeff here. It's so jarring to go back to watch the phase one films compared to now. It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
What you're looking at is experience and perseverance versus young, hungry, ambitious, and naive. That's basically the dichotomy we've got here. There's a delineating point. You can probably trace it to, I would say, the first Ant-Man film was the last of the people that are relatively experienced and know what they're doing. And after Ant-Man, that's where you start getting the mix of things, kind of like they're entertaining, they fit the formula, but they don't hit as hard as the other stuff prior. So yeah.
Who wants Echo? Like, who cares? Like, why?
Nobody asked.
I would be fine with Echo if they did something with her that would make me want to watch her show. Like what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Nobody heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy unless
That's true.
Hardcore freaks. The only reason I knew about them is because they were in the Marvel cartoon show Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes for like an episode. But the world said, hey, these characters are new, they're fresh, they're different, they're fun, we care about them. It's like that's what you're supposed to do with every character. Every single one of these characters we see on the screen needed to have the same level of treatment and effort put behind them so that we as an audience want to see them. And I think what ended up happening is that, and this is the fault of a lot of big corporations and a lot of big brands, is they feel the brand can supersede the quality of the product when that's not the case. The quality of the product makes the brand. And as long as you maintain the quality, the brand is strong. And you can falter and you can stumble, but you have to get back up. And they stumbled a lot with Captain Marvel. You could argue they came back up with Infinity War or Endgame, sorry. But they didn't. That was just basically like they got up and then they took one more step and then they walked down a manhole and then fell. And then everything else afterwards just came with it. And
this is that is a really good point though, because I didn't know anything about the Guardians of the Galaxy when the first movie came out. And then I was like, ooh, I like this movie. That became one of my favorite Marvel movies, probably my second favorite Marvel movie, because my first one is actually the first Avenger. I really love that movie. And then like my second favorite one was Guardians of the Galaxy because, well, I love space. So I was like, I love space. I love adventures in space. So wow, like Guardians of the Galaxy, like sign me up. Like I love a talking raccoon. Hell yeah, like let's go.
They did everything right with all of those, and they've done everything wrong since. And
you know what's really tragic is if you go back to, I guess, some of the Avengers comics sometime in the 80s, you will see the introduction of Monica Rambeau when she gets her powers to become the next Captain Marvel. And you will be like, wow, she is a fun, smart, sexy woman who works for the Coast Guard, gets these powers, and then just, soars afterwards. And it's very, very believable. It's very, very fun, engaging. And you're like, man, if they actually adapted that to live action, because Monica Rambeau, the way she gets her powers is she poses as a yacht bunny of sorts. So she wears a red bikini. She boats over to an oil rig, and then claims like, oh, I'm distraught. My thing is my boat's out of fuel. I need help. And the men on board, just looking at her body, are like, yeah, come on over here, whatever. And then she turns the tides on them and tries to arrest them. And then an explosion occurs, which grants her powers. And she ends up becoming a superhero. And it's a really fun kind of spy type of thing that she was doing. And her actions for doing that gets her suspended without pay because she broke a rule that her commanding officer said don't do. but she did it because it was the right thing to do. And you're like, oh, that's an underdog trope. Hey, we need more of those.
But see, that's that goes to show, because I'm guessing you're talking about like the comic book, right?
Yep.
So
yeah,
that
which
goes to
you can
show
find.
what I was talking about earlier about what that guy was saying, that like the Marvel fans have too much expectations. They really don't. They just want you to take that blueprint and then follow it. Like, you really are are dumb if you think that that's too much expectations for people, for you to follow a very simple storyboarded story and tell it in a movie format. I just like what you just explained is clearly what they need to do, is they need to tap into their already well written stories that they know, like the oh, they have the numbers, they know this issue sold well, whatever issue it is. And then go with that story, go and create. I mean, I can't even understand what they're going to do with Fantastic Four. I'm not looking forward to that at all, but can you believe that there's Marvel? Like, who gives a shit about Miss Marvel when you haven't done the Fantastic Four? I mean, that is like insane Marvel property. Like, you need to do the Fantastic Four first, but now I don't even want them to do it because they're so woke. And it's like, fuck that.
Well, I mean, there's complications there. Fantastic Four wasn't owned by Marvel
The Fox.
Studios at the
Yeah.
time, so and believe me, they wanted to do it.
Mhm.
And then a bunch of rights were all over the place. What's kind of funny is that had Marvel Studios stayed with their distribution agreement with Paramount, they made a bridge. They made a great distribution deal with Universal so that the MCU could actually be across studios. And they were in the midst of negotiating with Fox for Fantastic Four and X-Men. And then Disney bought them, and those negotiations stopped.
Oh, damn. That's crazy.
Which means that if it stayed there, we probably would have had an MCU that would still be going strong, most likely today.
That is so sad. But in an alternate reality, that is what happened. Now, the last thing I wanted to bring up, which kind of ties into all the stuff that we wanted to talk, what we've been talking about, is this tweet by Neon. He's the dude that runs Clownfish TV. I mean, huge shout out. I'm a massive fan, actually. I really like their website. I like their stories that they make, and I like their content. And I kind of really vibe with what he's saying. But it's also a discussion to be had, because he actually tweeted something else earlier, though, which was basically like he asked a question, like it was kind of like a poll question where he was asking, like, what do you rather the studios do? Do you rather like they give up? Do you rather they, fix it? Like, based on what we've been talking about? Do you rather just go like they just die out and it becomes independent? Do you rather like, that kind of thing, right? And now he's followed it up with, if you don't actually care about pop culture, but just want to use pop culture to push your personal political belief, we really have nothing in common. I legitimately love this nerd shit. I just wish that it was better than it's been in the last couple of years. And I guess that's where I kind of fall too, because I really I love movies, just generally speaking. Like, let's step out the nerd. I'm not talking specifically Marvel here or DC or anything nerdy. Like, I'm not talking about Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever. I'm talking about movies, just generally speaking. I love movies. I've always loved movies. I love TV shows. I love that. I love the visual format property. And I think that I feel like there's something definitely been missing culturally speaking. And not necessarily like nerd culture. Again, I'm talking about culture. When I say culturally speaking, is I'm talking about like the way that, when I viewed movies in Iran as a child and I saw American movies and I was like, oh my God, like look at the representation, like that, like America bringing their culture through movies was a thing. That is why they had such huge power, and now it's diminished. People don't want to see this really weird woke thing that's going on, even all around the world. And I think that's why I had a little bit of a I was debating with myself when I read his original thing, because I was like, okay, do I want them to fix it or do I want it all to die? Because in some ways I do want Disney, for example, to burn. But at the same time, if tomorrow, let's say, Kathleen Kennedy left and, Lucasfilm got sold back to George Lucas, let's say, and let's
Mhm.
say, everything kind of went back to what you were just describing, Script Doctor, or like
Sure.
everything became normal again. Why wouldn't I want to see good Disney movies? Like, of course I would want to see good Disney movies. Of course, I love Disney. I used to love Disney. I was Disney fangirl. So I just don't understand this idea of like, yeah, let's just watch it all burn because we just want to watch it burn. But do we really not love the properties that we're talking about? It's not because of love that we're saying that they should all burn. It's because they've been destroying it. But if they actually course correct, what is stopping us from recognizing like course correction,
Well, for
but
some out there, it's
at the
money.
same time,
Mm.
I do love the fact that they're doing indie stuff, and then I'm gonna give you the floor now, Script Doctor and
Sure.
Teresa. Let me know what you think about this.
Well, I'll put it to you this way: better the devil you know than the devil you don't. You burn Hollywood down, the vacuum is going to be replaced by something you think it's going to be better. I have to tell you, it never is. It just isn't. The way Hollywood has worked, the way it has survived, is the fact that their axiom was to find the people that made themselves valuable, bring them in to give second wind and new life to Hollywood so that it can continue to go on and flourish.
Mm-hmm.
There's always been alternative media. There's always been independent film. That's never going to change. That is the vetting process. People can either cross from independent into studio or they can stay in independent. The choice is theirs and always has been, always will be. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's 100% good. The other aspect too is that there is a cottage industry right now where people like to comment on sinking ships, on burning
Mm-hmm.
buildings.
Mm-hmm.
They make money off of that. And I say props to you. Go for it. Get it while the getting's good. 100%. But if you try to perpetuate it when it stops existing, you become the very media that is being criticized today, which
Mm-hmm.
constantly looks for the tragedy, the shock, the drama. You don't get to turn on the news and hear good news stories at the top of the hour. Heck, you'd be lucky if
Oh,
you get
trust
one
me, I
before
know.
the commercial break. Like, it's all conflict and controversy. And the reason being is that we as a species thrive on conflict and controversy because it's a great metric for us to find a way to overcome it. And if we
Mm-hmm.
don't have it, then we will basically go insane. And
Mm-hmm.
we got very close to that, to the point where you could argue society is really on the threshold of insanity right now because it has been so good up until a certain point. What exactly that point is, it's debatable in years, but it's otherwise overall has been pretty prosperous. So that is one thing to consider, is that there is always, just like with the media, there's always going to be another industry that needs the conflict to persist because it's how they sustain themselves. And that's just the nature of the game. YouTube wants to trick you into thinking it's alternative. It's not. YouTube is very mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
It's become the mainstream. We are
It
part of it.
is. That's why
Uh,
whenever you search something, the first thing that comes up is the mainstream stuff. They don't, push out the indie people anymore.
exactly.
It's always the
It's the
mainstream.
mainstream stuff that's in YouTube right now. What's also
Rumble's a different story though. Shout out Rumble.
Rumble is the alternative, but who knows? In maybe 5-10 years, it could also be another part of the mainstream. It could be
Yeah,
the Fox News to YouTube CNN
sure.
one day. That is always a
Mhm.
possibility.
It is a possibility, yes.
Um, and that's just the sad truth of it. Like, the only way things kind of change is when the people demand it, and a free market society, which I'm a big fan of, helps
Mhm.
steer that in the right direction. Now, we've already been getting with the pandemic now, I would say fairly over until they bring another one. Who knows?
Well, they've been
Mhm.
talking about it, yeah.
Audiences have been able to speak with regards to culture and entertainment a lot more prominently in the past 8 months. And the message was getting to Hollywood.
Mhm.
Now it's still up in the air because, again, as we mentioned earlier, there's a fair point to be made with regards to Barbie. You have to wait and see it right now. Because, again, if this is a truly woke film, like a hardcore woke propaganda film, it's the first ever to make money.
Mhm.
That's an anomaly.
That
So,
is definitely.
and it requires scrutiny with regards to the validity of that statement. Because, again, if there's room for doubt, it should be explored. Because the other part too is we've been conditioned to see this stuff so much that at some point we might be screaming at ghosts or shadows.
Yeah, we're
And
doing the windmill thing. Don
yeah,
Quixote's
Don
windmill.
Quixote's obsession. So it's to ourselves to remind and encourage ourselves that, hey, maybe we have to have less of a knee-jerk reaction. Maybe we got to take a breath. Maybe we got to look at things. If you want Hollywood to burn down, the fact of the matter is that you're literally throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Because again, it's only a very small percent that has a lot of power in Hollywood doing this, and they can be pushed out over time. It just takes a lot of time.
Interestingly, that is like basically the movie that I watched last night, and how when you feel completely powerless against like this very small entity or something, like there's a lot of like same like themes going on and the Tyrone movie. And it's just, that's really interesting to me what you just said. Like it made me think about that movie and the message of that movie, and how, you know, at the end of the day there is hope. Like, I mean, I think that it's interesting to me because I love indie creation and I like indie movies and everything like that. So I think that it, of course, if you do, like if you think that you can do it better, or if you think that basically, like, you know, you want something done right, you got to do it yourself, because like, you know, what's going on right now is 100, like it is broken. Like there's definitely a lot of you know, broken stuff happening in Hollywood. But I'm not one of those people, as you can see on my vote here, I voted to improve it, because I'm just not a believer personally of the idea of letting something die in that sense, of, again, like what you're saying, script doctor, like throwing out the baby with the bathwater, because I think there's a lot of culture involved with Hollywood. There's a lot of stuff that's good that's involved with movies. And if you can get good filmmakers to create amazing movies, why not? Like, why are we throwing that out? I don't think we should. I think indie should also be there, but I also think that this should be there.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. If Hollywood burns down, independent film has no means to survive.
No. Well, and not only that, I mean, let's just be honest. A lot of the independent stuff that we see coming out, it's okay, but it's not masterful, and it's nobody's fault. It just because they just, you know, they don't have the skill, they don't have the chops behind what you will find in something like Hollywood. And while there is a lot of talk about, well, this is shit, and that's true, there is a lot of garbage out there, but there's also a lot of darn good things happening right now. Like, for example, like what you just said about Nefarious. Yes, Sound of Freedom. Okay, yeah, they had some trouble getting it out there, but it did get out there. Like it or not, we've got Tom Cruise. He is entertaining everybody, and he's bringing everyone together. Everyone loves to go see a Tom Cruise movie. We see Oppenheimer. There is actually very good entertainment right now. It's really only in, if you will, maybe some of the niche of the fantasy that I see where things are going downhill. And of course, people want to keep fighting for that. But, you know, let's just be realistic. Even in comics, there are some fantastic comics coming out of the mainstream comics right now. It's just certain comics aren't doing so good. So and we do need to continue to sponsor art. Don't sponsor crap art, of course. But then again, I'm also one of those, if you want to sponsor crap art, that's your choice. I always tell people, I'm a Catholic. I already have one pope. I don't need someone else trying to tell me what to do.
You have two.
You know what I mean? I am going to watch what I damn well want to watch, when I want to watch it, and who I want to watch it with.
Yeah, sure.
At the end of the day, because it's art, and art in many ways is in the eyes of the beholder from a certain point of view, of course.
Agreed. Yes, I definitely agree with that, especially with regards to the Barbie movie. I'm like, this is such a weird, this is like literally that movie is like, it's in the eyes of the beholder. Like what you want to see is there.
Yeah, it's very perplexing to me because, again, I can just say this. It's not my taste. I can appreciate it for what it does on a writing style of things, but I'm very perplexed because the intent is ambiguous right now because we've had almost a decade of ill intent with regards to movies. So when you see something that might have the possibility of non-ill intent, you have to be cautious with it.
Yes, I think that's where I'm at as well, because the knee jerk reaction is, I believe, definitely hurting properties. Mind you, I also think that bad marketing is hurting properties. I think that actors should just shut the fuck up and let people just watch movies, because whether you are going to enjoy a movie or not, you don't necessarily care about the actor that has their politics and they're projecting their politics onto a movie, which may not necessarily be anything involved with that. So it's just all like, it's a big clusterfuck really of what's going on in Hollywood. But I definitely think I'm of the mindset that I hope it gets better at some point. Obviously, I'm not holding my breath, but I think that I would prefer to have Hollywood movies be better. Like, just do better, Hollywood. Like,
when they get the filter back, because they haven't had the filter since before I started. And the filter was basically saying, oh, you make stuff that people like and you know how to build an audience. We're going to bring you into our club and give you more money to do that. Just keep doing what you're doing. We haven't had that in a while. We've actually had the opposite. We've had I graduated from Harvard Business. I know what marketing is. This is what the audiences want. We're going to make it, and we're going to find someone to write it for us. And that has always been a thread throughout Hollywood, but it has dominated so much to the point where it has come at the detriment of really only the more profitable, recognizable IPs. Again, lots of new original stuff is coming out that doesn't have any of this stuff going on, but it's hard to find when you don't have as much money to compete with the big powerhouses that dominate the media sphere. So yeah, that's kind of where we're in right now. Like, again, I've been slowly picking away, and it's been kind of difficult to discern of all the new original television shows that came out in 2022. There's almost 600 of them. It's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It'd be remarkable if all of them are heavily fueled by identity politics. I doubt that's the case.
It would be weird. Like, it would just, I don't think it's that many. Now, like, having said all this, obviously, like, the woke still exist. I just think
it's not going anywhere.
It
may
going
be just
anywhere.
reduced, but it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, but at the same time, I agree with Neon as well, with the sentiment that there's look, this culture war. It's interesting that there has the word war in it, because the culture war is something that is profitable to a lot of people. So it's not just the studios that are losing or making money. It's also a lot of other people. Commentators are making a lot of money. There's a lot of money happening on YouTube, on, like, just take Barbie, for example. We just talked about it. Yeah, Rumble, on anywhere, like, that people are talking watching hate content and just hating on stuff is
That's
big
a Daily
business.
Wire model too.
Oh, I was about to say, I was thinking about the Daily Wire.
I mean, they only had one commentator that actually had a fairly interesting and unique take on some of the most recent media, Barbie included. But again, most of the time, it's like, this is terrible. This is bad. You need to know it's bad. I'm like, you sound just like CNN, Fox.
Well, it's also interesting to have, like, you're talking about the Daily Wire, but the Daily Wire has their own film section now, right? Like, so it's almost as if they're motivated to do stuff like that so that they can get people to go and sign up for their Daily Wire movies. Now, I'm not calling the Daily Wire out specifically, but hate sells, and war in general is big business. Whether you're talking about traditional war or whether you're talking about culture war, it's big business. And once you're involved in it and you see that really good money, you might not want it to end. Okay. You might want to fan the flames so that it keeps going. So I think that some people are motivated to keep this war going, if nothing else, just for purely for the money
it
side.
reminds me of the stories that I've heard, especially recently, because I've had a number of clients just write screenplays on this subject matter. But a lot of people have been sharing information with me about Vietnam and all the hindsight information that came from it, and all the revealed documents about it, and how much, yes, there's the cause of fighting the commies, but there's also the thing of, like, hey, if we can keep this going, There's a lot of money to be made.
There's a lot of money to be made, and the culture war, like there's certain people that have caught on now that this is making bank. Like this is making some people very rich, and so they're like, oh, like we haven't paid attention to this until now, but hey, let's get in on this business. So you got to really like pay attention. And this is why I always say you got to watch movies yourself and figure it out for yourself. Even when I hate a movie, I usually generally like to tell people like, you should watch it for yourself and decide for yourself, especially like, movies like Wes Anderson's movie. I love Wes Anderson. So even though I hated this movie, I would like people to watch it so that we can have a conversation so that I could be like, was I the only one? It's one of those things that I like continuously tell people, watch it yourself. Nobody can tell you what your mind is because you're going to look at it through other ways. Sometimes you're not going to have the same mindset as I do.
The Big Lebowski is a great example because the premise of that movie, and even the biggest fans don't even know this. The premise of that movie is, what if the tertiary characters that are in the background of a spy thriller are the main characters of that story? That because that's what they are. The dude is just a guy who's like, you have him in a gag scene. Well, like James Bond sees this guy in the gag scene, like does something to him, just gets some answers, and then finds out it's not the right guy, and then goes chase after the real guy. Well, it's like, no, we're gonna make a whole movie about that guy who just gets roughed up by James Bond. That is the Big Lebowski. That is the joke.
It
and
is
it's brilliant.
And
the fact he's getting wrapped up into this whole thing while all these other things are happening around him in this very fantasy world, just makes it enjoyable to watch. I know people that hated the movie because they didn't get that part. I know people that love the movie that don't get it, but it's there when you understand. It's there, especially if you're a filmmaker who understands the concept of, it's that side character, the guy in the guy in the Western who's watching the two main characters about to do a draw in the middle of town, who runs inside the saloon to hide. That's the movie about that type of guy, that type of character, that status in the story.
I haven't watched The Big Lebowski in so long, and it's been like on my kind of like rewatch list. So I'm going to rewatch it and keep all of what you just said in mind. Sorry, Teresa, go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, I was just going to say I really like what you were saying about how making up your own mind, because to get to any sort of truth, you cannot be afraid of dialogue. You cannot be afraid of opposing point of views, of these hearing them. Sometimes I think there can be an attitude of, well, we don't like our voices being shut down. Well, then we need to not do the other thing. You have to keep dialogue going. It's like everyone needs to be free to say their expression. And in dialoguing, we come to consensuses, we come to things, and we might disagree, but that's a good thing. And that nothing is really black and white in entertainment, just like in real life. And I think that this could be a very, very interesting and exciting time for entertainment. For example, we've been saying that you all have been saying rather that Barbie is changing, could very well change everything, but also Sound of Freedom just changed everything too. Look at all that money that they made. It beat out Indiana Jones proportionally. So
mind you, I think
exciting times.
Sound of Freedom and even to some extent Nefarious are counted as indie movies. That's why they're making such huge headways. I think
Sound of Freedom is a Fox Studios production from Fox Colombiana.
Okay, so no.
But here's the thing. I know a lot of people want to say Hollywood hates this film. Some people in Hollywood do. A lot of producers love this film for one main reason. It's a low budget success.
It's a low budget money.
That's all they care about.
That's all they dream about.
They don't care about the acting. They just like, wow, this is a very well-made movie, under $20 million, and it's raking in the money. This is what we've been fighting for since Disney started buying IP.
Yeah,
darn right.
This is the game changer. Here's the other part too. Barbie, by comparison, as a tentpole film, is a modestly budgeted one at between $100 and $125 million. You can see every single dollar on that screen.
You can.
And that's kind of where it's at. It's like, oh yeah, tentpoles. We really shouldn't be going to the $200, $250 million, $300 million budget for a tentpole film. We should be focusing more on a third or less, because that is where you make your money. This is a good sign. like again, Fox, before Fox was purchased, they were actually starting to back up mid to low budget films to release sporadically over the years to gain profit. Disney bought them, had no idea what they purchased other than the main IPs that they needed, and just shelved the majority of it. And then when the pandemic hit, they just squirted out whatever they could find in between. I guarantee you, Disney had no idea they owned Sound of Freedom until Angel Studios approached them and said, "Hey, we would like to buy this."
Yeah,
I
I
100%
agree.
guarantee you.
And I think they're broke as fuck, so they were like, okay.
Well, again, they already had technically written off the film financially, so I think whatever they sold it for would be considered a net profit, and they're pretty happy about that until they realized how much money they left on the table from not releasing this. However, here's the other question you have to say. Let's say hypothetically Disney did release this film. Would it still have made the $100 million and gone further? Because Disney's brand is pretty damaged right now.
Mm-hmm.
And would people infer a different message from the film of what's being stated, regardless of what Jim Caviezel is going out to promote?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's all up in the air. Some things we never know, but things we should probably consider, because again, sometimes the messenger plays a role in the product.
Absolutely. Teresa, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, when you were talking about would people have had a different attitude, maybe not, considering who made them, because they were the same team that made Bella, but about 10 years ago. However, don't underestimate the power that Angel Studios has from The Chosen. For good or for ill, The Chosen has been unbelievably successful, and the fact that it was Angel Studios, the company that brought you The Chosen.
Well, they licensed it because that Chosen was a fully independent production.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But associated with them.
Because you could watch their show on their website, which was pretty cool. And then Angel Studios came in to broker licensing deals for streaming.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I'd say so. Yeah. So as far as you're saying, like, about the messenger, that's another shift that's happening right now with this phenomenon of The Chosen, and maybe it's another stream to talk about the quality of that production, but it definitely it's caught the imaginations of, I guess, people that feel like their voices maybe aren't being heard in entertainment and all that. I might be sounding like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but I promise you I'm not, because I'm also for this kind of independent stuff. I'm for Hollywood and all that. I'm for good where you find it.
I think you're down for creativity, just like me. I'm like, I'm not gonna like deny good Hollywood movies. If there's a good Hollywood movie that I want to watch, hell yeah, I'm gonna go watch it. Like Mission Impossible, like that was a big budget Hollywood Tom Cruise movie, and I was there. I want to watch, massive, amazing projects. Why not? I like art. I like movies. Of course, I'm gonna watch good movies. I don't want that to end, because I feel like that's ending the culture. But seeing the stuff like this though bums me out. When Paramount CEO Brian Robbins says that they're moving away from releasing original animated movies in theaters and instead focusing on IPs. We're not going to release an expensive original animated movie and just pray that people will come. Because that's also a reality that we're living with now, right? Like we're living in a reality where there is inflation. Movies are secondary. People have to feed their families, and people have to feed, get themselves to work. Gas is expensive. So not everybody's going to movies to watch, the latest whatever movie. And most of the time, these guys are making movies based on IPs now because they don't want to create original content. It's too risky to make original content.
It's also too time consuming. Animation is 2 to 3 years minimum.
But animation was out anyway, man. Like, especially 2D animation. Like, I don't know if he's talking about 3D animation or 2D animation, but cell animation is dead. It's like a thing of the past. Nobody's doing that anymore unless you go to Japan. But
Robert Pratt is probably the only one doing it, and he's got a YouTube channel where he does it. But it's infrequent because it takes him months to do, because he does the whole thing. He sketches it, he inks it, he colors it, he films it, he gets voice actors to do it. It takes a long time to make. and he's doing it the old school way,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lost art. Well, I mean,
It
it's
is.
technically not a lost art because some schools still teach you how to do that, but then they just say, here's the digital version now, which is more of the industry standard, and therefore you lose the actual pencil to paper touch,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yeah.
unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, I totally get why Paramount's doing this. If you're going to do an original animated film, you're looking at a 3-year investment, which means whatever you have to write for a market that doesn't technically exist yet, in addition to what could be hot now.
Mm.
If you have an IP, you're like, okay, it's an established brand, it's made some money, we can market it based on the fact that people already know it a little better. And then if you want to do an original live action, which Paramount is doing in spades compared to any of the other studios right now, it's a much faster turnaround. You've got the script already, you purchased the spec script, which is an original IP, a spec script. It's not an assignment. It's not something they have, and they're just asking writers for their take. They're buying original stuff. They're putting it into production. They're releasing it out there, and they're hopefully getting a positive response back with their audience. And Paramount's the only one that's really doing that. And it's when COVID hit, Paramount was the only studio saying, we are buying any great original spec script, send it our way. And I sent a whole bunch of other stuff, and I had great pending deals until everything shut down again.
Oh man.
And
That
because the other part
sucks.
too is like, hey, okay, you get it. You're in Ontario. Can you fly out to California? It's like, no, why not?
No.
Both of our governments have restricted air travel.
Yeah, and then
It's
I'm
like,
on
well, you gotta
backs
be
and
here in
you
person.
let
It's
me
like,
in.
yeah, like, and that's just what it was.
But
But
circumstance.
again, I think Brian Robbins is smart to do this for now. I don't think this is going to be permanent because, again, any new person that comes in and sees a viable option for making money, they're going to change things. That's what they do.
I mean, I hate it because I like creativity and I think it's stupid, but I can also understand it because it is very, very it's a bet. It's a bet. But I just feel like Jeff is right. Like it's risky when you're not talented. And maybe they know they just don't have enough talented people because they've been doing so many diversity hires and like not based on merit. Maybe they know that they just don't have the capability to create good original content right now. So
well, they have the capability. They have to find the people that can do it. And
right.
that's,
But that's
the
what I
different
mean by
thing.
not having the
When you're
capability,
in
like not having the right people.
Exactly. When you have an oversaturated market of people that are either diversity hires or nepotism diversity hires, which there's a lot of those too.
Yes, nepotism
You
is
are
big
not
time.
getting it's harder to find the diamond in the rough, so to speak.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
It just makes it way more difficult. And especially if you're not looking in the right space, which Hollywood since at least 2015 has not been looking in the right areas. They're like, oh, it used to be, we were looking for someone who can actually entertain us, make something good, that we're going to give them a shot. Instead, it's like, okay, we need someone that is part of this community here and this community there and this community over here, because that's going to score us points with the public that doesn't care. And that's what we're going to do. And it's like, we are reaping the tragic cost of that as a result. I mean, again, to go back to Barbie, you have a writer and a director, both of which have been nominated for Oscars, both of which have had pretty extensive careers. Greta Gerwig should never have been an actor. She's not good. But Noah Baumbach is still a very talented writer. And they managed to take a very profitable brand and make it work for film in a way that other studios couldn't do for 8 years. Other studios were grabbing the people of the diversity hire spectrum, and they couldn't land it. So what did Warner Brothers do? Hey, let's get these two people that have got Oscar nominations that deal with parental and family and social issues, and give them Barbie to see what their take is.
And then let's get Margot Robbie.
And then let's get Margot Robbie to helm it, because
right.
she's young enough to do a couple of sequels in this film, and she looks closest to Barbie.
Yeah, she's literally the embodiment
Of course, never
Barbie.
give her curly bangs ever again. They did not go well.
I know that looks so terrible, but also it was great because it was like Barbie. It's a good cosplay.
I'm still impressed with the fact that I can actually point out the very thing that a lot of women are thinking about at that time. Where I'm like, I don't think a woman would think that's attractive, because I definitely would not. I always look at that person's hair like they're crazy.
I mean, that was me like in the 80s. I was like, how did we think that this looked good? It's like there's a lot of like the crimping and like the weird, like crazy styles. And I'm like, why did anybody think this looks good?
I
But
remember
hey,
it was like the
fashion.
three-bladed pixie cut. So you had like big thick sideburns that covered the ears,
Yeah.
like the points, and then you had one straight one down. Like it looked like 3 arrows.
Yeah.
I saw that. I'm like, that only works on certain faces.
It does. I mean, the 80s were a wild time, man. But let me get some of these super chats and Rumble rants, and then we're gonna close it out. It's been a really fascinating discussion tonight, and thank you everybody in the chat. You guys have been awesome, and thank you for being a part of it. Let's see here. We got Daramuth. Thank you for the $2. Says, remember those who subscribe to their favorite creator on Rumble. All of the sub money goes straight to the creator until the end of the year. That is true. So thank you for reminding everybody of that. And Braz Monkey tips $5 over on Rumble and gives me the little cheers from the Great Gatsby. What a great movie that was. Darmuth with another $2 says, I'm glad Angel Studios has it because it's about the message, not about the money. Did everyone forget what the dark side of Hollywood is involved in? I will never forget about that, Darmuth. And for that alone, I might be more inclined to be like, let it burn.
It's worse than independent. I'm sorry to break that to you.
But yeah, it happens in everything.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Theater.
The way you fix that is you fix the general culture and how we treat each other.
About that, yeah.
That's how you fix it.
I agree with that. John Burns, thank you for the $2.79. Says, remember the women in Killeen, Texas claimed Satan. I don't know what that means, but okay. Dances with Wolves was fantastic 3-hour movie, says John Burns for $2.79. I agree with that. I really like that movie. I don't remember it being 3 hours. That's
Didn't
how
feel
I
like 3 hours. I saw that 3 or 4 times when I was a kid, just because I really liked the scenery, the setting, the native culture looked really fascinating to me. Like I'd never seen like the way that the buffalo hunt scene that they did in that movie was pretty cool. I'd never seen anything like that before.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, again, I'm a kid and I didn't see much then.
It was great. I really loved that movie. It was definitely one of the gets a pass for a 3-hour movie. Over on Rumble, P Beaver, thank you for the 5. Says, high 5 for mini featured. Congratulations. Thank you so much. I can't believe it. It's pretty cool. John Burns, thank you for the 2.79. Don't blame homophobia when no one watches, or racism, or anything. Any phobia. Tyrannus Cygnus, thank you so much for becoming a member. You are awesome. And I also wanted to address this last comment here. It says, I'm tempted to send a super chat, but I wouldn't want Nina to profit off the culture war. That's funny. I think that's hilarious. But also, I think that, like, just to clarify, I'm not like shitting on like, most of the channels that I hang out with are culture war people, like, Gary from Nerdrotics, culture war, Midnight's Edge, like everybody, like I'm culture war, part of that.
Yeah. Midnight's Edge and Gary
crowd.
desperately want to be talking about the positive things in there.
Yes.
Like you can tell from that. It's like when Doctor Who was great, they were on it. When Game of Thrones was great, they were on it.
That's what happens though. We talk about good things in media. Like, I mean, even my channel, like, you guys remember I was like, I'd rather talk about stuff we like, than stuff we don't like. So we did several streams where we were like, things like Severance, and we liked, things like we were talking about shows that, not everybody was talking about. We were talking about stuff that were that was things that we enjoyed, because there's always something to enjoy. Now, that doesn't make as much money as hating on things. But when you see somebody who's not in the pop culture sphere come out of nowhere and start talking about the culture war, you should raise some questions. That's all I'm saying. It's just, you should have like a little bit of discernment into thinking like, well, why am I listening to this guy? This guy has never reviewed a movie. This guy has no idea what he's talking about. And I just think that it's sometimes good to kind of question those kind of things. What is like motivating this highly prolific, whatever person from whatever side, pick a side, doing, stuff on the culture war when they really don't have any idea of what is actually going on. I have questions when it comes to stuff like that. But hey, that's just me. I mean, if you want to support those people, go right ahead. But don't. I'm not going to kid myself into thinking they actually care about the result of what is happening here, because we do. Like people on Midnight's Edge, and people like Gary, people like Az, people on Friday, everybody on Friday Night Tights, Geeks and Gamers. We have a stake in this game. Like we actually do care about all these properties. We do care about this culture war. We care about what's happening to like the IPs that we love, and what's happening to the MCU, what's happening to Star Wars. We have a dog in this fight, but when somebody just comes out of nowhere and starts like just shitting on things just for the sake of shitting on things because they want to make money, hey, I have questions. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well said.
And it's good to have questions.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Never fear a question. Never fear. There's no idea that cannot be challenged.
Teresa, when I was little and I was in Iran, we would go to school, and school like it was Islamic, right? So it's the Islamic Republic, and in my school I was my mom would always get continuously called in to the school because I was not a good kid. But the reason I wasn't a good kid, and the reason that my mom get called in, was because I asked too many questions. So
dear.
they were always like, she asks too many questions and she's really shade-tune. And shade-tune, okay, is another word. Like it's like a translation means like demon or devil or like little demon. So they would be like, yeah, well, like that, but literally, it's a little, it's a little literal translation though. Like shaytun actually means devil. So like in Farsi, in my language, so they'd be like, she's like a little devil, and it's like she's always asking questions because she's like the devil. She's like the devil. She's got the devil in her.
The devil
and so
doesn't
like
ask questions. The devil demands obedience.
Yeah, I mean, well, does he though? I don't know.
No, I mean, it's
he says
also
to
weird because
question
the devil also
Christ.
punishes the wicked. So you're like, well, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, that's true. But my point is that I was always told like to not ask questions when I was little, and it made me want to ask more questions. So I'm just a questioning person. Like it's in my nature to question everything, and especially when people tell me not to do it because that's like the devil's work. I'm like, I'm gonna question you even more.
They didn't want to answer.
This is true.
Where's your husband, Mrs. Smith?
Oh no.
Oh my God. Well, no, I actually asked more like questions like, why don't you tell us more about Jesus Christ? And then my mom would be like, for the love of God, don't ask questions like that in school. Like, they're gonna kill us.
It's the same God.
John Francis 279 says, Keeling, Texas. She murdered her kids, feared Satan. Oh, damn. So another crazy person.
Talking about, was she the one? She drowned her 5
kids.
Was
she the one that did that horrible thing with the car in the lake?
No, I think that was someone else. I think this was
that was Casey Anthony.
Yeah.
Oh right.
Yeah, this one, she was a mother of 5, and yeah,
she did bad things. Oh no.
Yeah, it was pretty awful.
Demon person. These people are demons. Watch Nefarious. I'm telling you, you'll be like, ooh. Mm-hmm. Yes, you have to question things.
Yeah. And just sometimes just in the process of discussing the questions, we don't have to come up with an answer, but the process of thinking, and as we reason through it, that's how we can come to our own conclusions and help form our own consciences.
Yeah, sometimes you end up finding the source of the conflict too. That's the other part too. So many people want the Band-Aid solution. They want to look at what the answer could be. they ignore where the source is coming from. And as a result, all you're ever going to do is be slapping on Band-Aids while the boat's taking on water. And I just mixed my metaphor there.
All right. Rearrange deck chairs on the Titanic.
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny. And like Grumpy, you're so right. It's like you were born to be an American. It's true. Like I was born, I feel like, you know how like everybody's like saying like, you know, I was born in the wrong body and like, you know, they want to transition or whatever. Like I feel like I was born in the wrong location. Like I was like, I
moved to Canada.
well, yeah, but dude, I was so disappointed that we weren't moving to America. I was like, what the fuck is Canada? Like
Yeah, but then you got a taste of all the weed.
that's true. And I did like it. I was like, "Ooh, this is a good place." But it's so funny because when I was in Iran though, I would be like the kid that would be like, I identify as an American. Like, you know? Oh, they wanted to kill me so bad. But then I learned how to play the game though. So I understood like, you know, there's a thing that comes with kids is I understood like where the line was. And then I was like, you know what I got to do is I got to fool them into thinking that I'm one of them, but then behind the scenes I'm literally like the opposite. So I did all the right things. So there was like for example this art contest where you had to color in Khomeini's face. It was either Khomeini or Khamenei, which is like the great leaders of Iran, the supreme leaders. Khomeini is the supreme leader during the revolution. He's still talked about to this day. He's the guy that brought the revolution to Iran. Khamenei is the guy that's alive now. Okay. He's still the supreme leader of Iran. Either way, it was one of them. I don't remember which one. I think it was Khomeini. It was the first one. It was like the revolution guy. We had to color in his picture. So I went and made it like he was this magnificent creature that was like, I covered it with like sparkles and I was like, he is like God. Like, you know, I made him look like Jesus almost because I had like a halo on his head and like it was like a thing. And it won. Like I won the contest of like the best art for that picture thing. And they wanted me to give a speech. It was like this whole thing, like in like a not just in our school, like all of the schools were in this thing. And I was like, ha ha ha, like you guys think I'm one of you, but I hate all of you. Like it was
now
like
to incorporate subliminal messages into the
yeah,
color.
yeah, exactly. It was so
You
funny.
heathen.
I was such a heathen. Oh my God. They would if they only knew, if they only knew. John Burns for 279 says Susan Smith drowned her boys. Her boyfriend dumped her. Oh my God.
Before or after?
Jesus.
For
Yeah, it's
either
like
one. Just one.
yeah, I know. Like she like he dumped her and then she's like, I'm gonna kill my kids now. And then
All
or
men
like
suck.
yeah, damn. Oh my God.
Shouldn't laugh at that because I wish those kids were still there.
I know. It's dark humor though. You gotta laugh
It
if,
is,
you're gonna cry because that's so depressing. That is so depressing that kids died. But hey, what the fuck? Okay. That's it. I think that's the show. Thank you everybody for joining tonight. You guys have been fantastic. The chat is on fire. Rumble, you guys are fantastic. Love you, Rumble. Script Doctor, tell everyone where you can people can find you and what you got coming up next.
You can find me on X at Script Doctor PhD.
Oh dear.
I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/scriptdoctor, where as I start getting more information with regards to the strikes at hand, and also if I find interesting stories with regards to models of entertainment and story writing, you can find me going live there or the occasional edited video where I have a wonderful conversation with a variety of people. I've got a long list of people I've got to reach out to talk about general film and television things to remind you why this industry exists in the first place. I also have a Patreon where I post musings, reviews, articles, and tips on how to improve your writing. I recently dropped a review for Oppenheimer, so you can go check that right now. I am working on a Venture Brothers movie review, and I'm also working on what's going to be like a novella on Barbie, exploring some of the questions that we've discussed today with regards to our writing
a
and business
novella.
perspective. Oh, it's
Ooh.
I am I wrote a lot of notes on Barbie after I saw it, and I am 16 pages in, and I think I'm gonna have another 8 to 10 when I'm done. So it's gonna be like a 30-page commentary
Wow.
review on it.
Damn.
Because there's lots of stuff to explore,
Incredible.
and there's lots of little itty bitty techniques that are interesting there. That I started looking at some other films that could be comparative to with regards to like woke messaging, which they just don't. I've been scratching my head and clawing to try and find the depth in those, and I can't. It's just not there because it's so blatantly bad. But this is the contrast with regards to an experienced veteran writer versus a hungry, wet behind the ears. Yes, sir. I'll write whatever you want. Executive producer, writer. So,
Over on Rumble, Jarmuth for $2 says sometime in August, the kids saved in the Columbia busts will be coming up to tell their story now as adults. Per Tim Ballard. Don't know when exactly in August though. That's really interesting.
that'll be great
Thank you
to
for letting
listen
us
to.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Damn.
it'll be really fascinating stuff. Real quick, Script Doctor, what did you think of Oppenheimer? I didn't even ask you. I didn't realize you watched it.
Brilliantly acted, boring overall.
Wow, I
Because it
knew
was
it.
too
I
long.
knew it. I was like, I
It
knew
was
this
too
movie is
long.
gonna be so boring.
Its framing device was poor. It's like a movie trying to be saved in the edit. But Robert Downey Jr., Cillian Murphy, Matt Damon, Josh Hartnett, all unrecognizable, brilliant performances.
Cool.
That's what you watch it for. You watch it for them.
For the
You will,
performances. Yeah.
you will the plot, the thread, the whole consequence of will Oppenheimer get or not get his security clearance renewed? Who the hell cares? It's not really about the bomb. It's about other things around it.
The man.
And yeah, and it's also
Mhm.
Christopher Nolan. He only read one book about Oppenheimer, and that's what he wrote the screenplay about, and that's why it's boring.
Wow.
No other perspectives. So sad.
Turtles over on Rumble. Thank you for the $2. Says butterfly effect Khomeini than Trudeau today. I know, man. The more you run, whenever you run to a place,
Supposed to leave those problems behind.
Yeah. The world ends up catching up with you. If you're supposed to learn a certain lesson, you're going to learn it because that's what your life wants to learn. That's what your soul came into this body to learn. So you're going to learn it one way or another, no matter how far it is that you run. Teresa, thank you so much for being here tonight. You've been so fantastic. Thank you.
Always good to come on and rant and rave.
Yeah.
I have passions about this stuff. Well, and you can hear more about that on my YouTube channel. I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. This week, I'm going to be having some more pub crawl interviews with Mark with a C and Magitech Megs. So
Nice.
please stay tuned for that. Go ahead and sub and hit that bell. Also, I guess look for my Barbie review. I'm going to go see it, by golly, and I'll tell y'all what I think about it, give you an honest review.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to know what you think. See if you see the subtleties like the way me and Script Doctor do. You hate it like Tom does. Tom and Culture Casino.
Well, it's okay for men to hate this film. I mean, come on.
Yes, it's
I'd be
absolutely
worried if
okay.
men love this film. I don't love this film. I'm just like, there's some weird stuff going on here.
No, I mean Anna hated it too. Anna, she hated that movie. I think she hated it for a different reason than I hated it, but she still hated
Ryan
it.
Gosling not man enough for her.
No, she just thinks it's completely destroyed the Barbie IP.
I get that. I can definitely see that. Yeah.
John Burns with the 279 says, watch Barbieheimer pitch meetings before novella. I have it pulled up. I'm gonna watch it when we end this stream. John Burns, thank you. I like funny stuff. I'm definitely gonna watch it. But guys, make sure you subscribe to both Teresa and Script Doctor. And as for me, you can find me tomorrow on Midnight's Edge with Tom. We talked about him enough tonight. So Tom Connors from Midnight's Edge is going to be on there as well. We run the show together. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have Ashton Birdie come back because last week we were supposed to talk about the Snow White drama because there is definitely some crazy stuff going on with that movie and how actually woke it is. So we're going to be talking about that much more. So tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, Toxic Fam should be a lot of fun with, of course, all the other ladies as well. As always, my Wednesday shows Breaking the Narrative and Fridays for Infinite Hope. I'm always here. And of course on Rumble as well. Rumble's amazing. So that's it. That's the show. Did you guys have anything else you want to say before we call it?
I had fun.
Oh yeah, it's always a good time to hang out. I love these chill.
I love hanging out with you guys. Thank you for coming by. We're gonna go out on Naked Tom Hiddleston.
Oh, nice. Thank you. You're always so kind to me.
I'm kind to myself too, Teresa. I enjoy Naked Tom Hiddleston. Everybody in the chat, you guys are fantastic. Thank you so very much for watching tonight at this Culture War channel. Thank you for smashing the like. Thank you for sharing the stream. Thank you for just being you in the chat. Special thanks to those of you who super chatted, became a member, gifted memberships, all that good stuff. I highly appreciate your support more than you will ever know. But until next time, you guys have a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
I'm so sorry.
I'll survive.
I don't doubt it. You're an excellent specimen. I thought you were empty.
I just moved in.
I'm Charlotte Melville.
Hi. Sorry, I must have fallen asleep.